Chapter 1. Villainess. Challenge accepted. I was startled awake by voices. "My lady, the sun has risen," someone said softly. Warm covers were pulled away from me. I blinked open my eyes, only to be greeted by unfamiliar surroundings. My heart skipped a beat. Where am I? I sat up, confused, my gaze landing on a young woman in a maid's uniform who was staring at me with wide, worried eyes. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice hoarse. "My lady, whatever do you mean?" "It's me, Anna, your maid," she replied nervously. "My maid?" I echoed in disbelief. Her smile faltered. Without another word, she turned and bolted from the room, shouting, "I need a doctor. The lady is seriously ill." Silence filled the space she left behind. I turned, my eyes sweeping across the room. It was enormous, grand chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, velvet curtains, and a bed so large it could fit 3 people. Everything looked expensive, old-fashioned, and straight out of a period drama. The last thing I remembered was collapsing from exhaustion at my desk, and then nothing. Hadn't I died? My legs felt shaky as I slipped out of bed. I needed to see myself, anything to anchor this nightmare. My gaze fell on a full-length mirror in the corner. I staggered over, gripping the frame as I stared at the reflection. A stranger stared back. The girl in the mirror was breathtakingly beautiful, with long, shining blonde hair and skin as pale as porcelain. Her eyes, blue, deep, and endless, looked like the ocean at dawn. I touched my face. "Who is this?" I pinched my cheek hard. It stung. This wasn't a dream. I was inside this body. The sound of a door swinging open snapped me back to reality. "My lady, the doctor is here," Anna announced, out of breath. She rushed over and gently guided me back to bed. The doctor entered, his face lined with concern. He examined me carefully, asked me questions I could barely answer, and finally nodded. "It seems the high fever you suffered has caused temporary amnesia," he said gravely. I swallowed hard. Amnesia, right. If only it were that simple. Anna's face paled. "Amnesia? My lady, you don't remember me?" I nodded slowly, my throat tight. I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached out, hesitating before touching my arm. It's all right, my lady. We'll help you remember." I swallowed hard, feeling a strange mix of guilt and confusion. Help me remember? Or help me survive this life I never asked for? I let out a shaky breath and sank back into the pillows. "Evelyn Grace," I muttered to myself. The name felt strange on my tongue, like wearing someone else's shoes, but oh, how expensive they looked. Anna hovered nearby, wringing her hands. "My lady, would you like me to bring something to eat? Something gentle for your stomach?" I nodded faintly, forcing a polite smile. "Yes, thank you, Anna." As she bustled out of the room, I let my thoughts run wild. "Okay, Evelyn Grace, think. You don't know this life, you don't know these people, and apparently, your end is tragic. Well, not on my watch." I pressed my fingers to my temples. "The Duke, of course. Everyone fears him, and apparently he's supposed to be my doom. If I play my cards right, I can make him like me. Charm him. Distract him. Survive." I pictured the Duke in my mind. Tall, dark-haired, impossibly intimidating. Yes, terrifying. But also, strangely handsome. Maybe a little soft if I can catch him off guard. I smirked. Step 1, don't die. Step 2, make him fall for me. Step 3. Step 3, enjoy being alive. A shiver of excitement ran through me. It was ridiculous, it was audacious, it was dangerous, and I loved it. I've never had so much at stake before, and I've never been this determined to stay alive. Anna returned with a tray, but I barely noticed her. My mind was already racing through plans, strategies, and subtle smiles that could melt a duke's heart. No one must know my plan. Especially not Anna. I bit back a grin. This is my life now, my game, and I intend to win. Chapter 2. The Reputation of the Villainess. The next morning, Anna fluttered around my room like a nervous sparrow, pulling open the curtains and letting sunlight spill across the velvet carpet. "My lady, the Duke has returned from the capital. You will be expected at dinner tonight." I froze mid-bite of the bread roll she had just given me. Crumbs stuck to my lips as my brain short-circuited. "The Duke?" I croaked, my voice cracking like a pubescent boy's. Anna nodded seriously, her expression heavy with worry. "Yes, Duke Adrian Blackthorn. Your fiancé." My bread slipped from my fingers and landed on the plate with a sad plop. "Fiancé. Okay. Don't panic. This was fine. Totally fine. Just a little detail the universe forgot to warn me about. No big deal, just that I'm apparently engaged to the scariest man in the book." "Anna," I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "Remind me, what sort of man is this Duke Adrian?" She blinked, clearly confused by my question. "You don't remember, my lady?" "Right. Amnesia. Stick to the script." "Humor me," I said quickly, waving my hand with all the grace of a queen commanding her court. Anna hesitated, then leaned closer, her voice dropping to a dramatic whisper. "He's terrifying. Great start. They say he's as cold as ice, with eyes like a hawk. Soldiers claim that when he rides into battle, the enemy flees at the mere sight of him. He never smiles, never laughs, and he. She cut herself off, glancing around nervously before lowering her voice even further. "They say he once executed a nobleman just for spilling wine on his boots." I choked on my own spit. "Executed? For wine?" I grabbed Anna's arms, shaking her gently. "Are you telling me I'm engaged to an execution-happy ice block with anger management issues?" Anna squeaked. "My lady, please, compose yourself." I slumped back in my chair, covering my face with my hands. This was worse than I remembered from the novel. In the story, Evelyn Grace was notorious for chasing after the Duke relentlessly, throwing herself at him in the most embarrassing ways possible. Of course, he despised her. Everyone despised her. She made enemies out of all the ladies at court, and in the end, I shuddered. Death. Again. No. Absolutely not. Evelyn Grace version 2 was not going down like that. I took a deep breath, lifting my chin as determination sparked in my chest. "All right. New plan." I clenched my fist dramatically. "If he's scary, I'll be scarier." "No, wait, that's suicide. If he's cold, I'll be warm. If he's sharp, I'll be soft. If he's an iceberg, then I'll be the sunshine that melts him." Anna stared at me, mouth slightly agape. "My lady." "Anna," I declared, pointing at her like a general commanding her soldier, "bring me every book, every scroll, every scrap of information about Duke Adrian Blackthorn. If I'm to survive, I must know my enemy." She looked alarmed. "Enemy? My lady, he's your fiancé." I flashed a grin. "Exactly. The most dangerous kind." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I stood before the mirror, dressed in an elegant gown of deep sapphire silk. Anna fussed with my hair, her hands trembling almost as much as mine. "Do I look charming?" I asked, practicing a smile that was meant to be alluring but looked more like I had indigestion. Anna bit her lip. "Perhaps, less teeth, my lady." I adjusted, forcing a softer smile. "Better-ish." Inside, my thoughts were screaming. "All right, Evelyn. Step 1. Survive dinner. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Step 3. Do not, under any circumstances, let him see that you're terrified of him." The butler appeared at the door, bowing stiffly. "My lady, the Duke awaits you in the dining hall." I nearly fainted. My knees knocked together as I forced myself forward, each step echoing in the grand corridor like the toll of a death bell. When the dining hall doors swung open, I stopped dead in my tracks. There he was. Duke Adrian Blackthorn. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black uniform with silver embroidery that screamed authority. His dark hair framed a face carved from stone, sharp jaw, piercing grey eyes that seemed to strip me bare in one glance. He sat at the head of the long table, one gloved hand resting on the arm of his chair, the other lifting a wine glass with effortless elegance. The aura around him was so heavy, I half expected thunderclouds to roll in overhead. I gulped audibly. Oh no. He's hot. Chapter 3, The First Meeting. The grand dining hall stretched endlessly, a cathedral of marble and chandeliers. The long banquet table gleamed under golden candlelight, covered in silver dishes I couldn't even name. And at the head of it sat the most dangerous man of my new life, Duke Adrian Blackthorn. I swallowed so hard I nearly choked. He's worse in person. 10 times worse. He looks like the final boss of a video game, the kind you can't beat without spending real-world money on upgrades. Anna nudged me discreetly. I forced my feet forward, every step echoing like a drumbeat of doom. Duke Adrian Blackthorn, the butler announced with a flourish, may I present your fiancée, Lady Evelyn Grace. I curtsied, trying to look graceful, but my skirts nearly tripped me. Why your grace, I stammered, my voice wobbling like jelly. When I dared glance up, those piercing grey eyes were already locked on me. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared. Oh no. He knows. He knows I'm a fake Evelyn stuffed inside this body like a badly written plot twist. He's going to execute me right here, in front of the salad. The silence stretched so long I was tempted to fake a fainting spell just to escape. But then, finally, his deep voice rolled out like distant thunder. Sit. One word. Cold. Commanding. Like the slash of a sword. I scrambled into the chair beside him, my palms sweating through my gloves. My fork clattered loudly against the plate the moment I touched it, and I wanted to melt into the floor. Step 1, don't die. Step 2, charm him. Step 3, don't let him see you're a total disaster. Your Grace, I began, forcing a smile that probably looked more like a grimace, I hope your travels were comfortable. His grey eyes flicked to me, unreadable. Comfort is irrelevant. Great. He talks like a video game villain, too. I nodded furiously. Of course. Comfort is for weaklings. Who needs it? The butler froze mid-pour of the wine, giving me a horrified look. Anna, standing at the edge of the room, smacked her own forehead. The Duke raised one brow, studying me like I was a particularly strange bug. Indeed. I stabbed my fork into the nearest dish, desperate to hide my embarrassment. It was something green and slimy. Spinach. Seaweed. Poison. Who knew? I shoved it into my mouth and chewed mechanically. Smile, Evelyn. Be charming. Be adorable. Pretend you're the heroine, not the villainess. He can't kill you if you're cute. So, Your Grace, I said, my voice a pitch higher than usual, do you, enjoy hobbies? The room went so silent I swore I could hear Anna choking in the background. Hobbies? He repeated, his tone flat. Yes. I chirped, my brain scrambling for ideas. Like, embroidery, bird watching, collecting rare rocks. He blinked once. Slowly. My cheeks burned so hot I could have cooked the roast beef with them. The Duke set down his wine glass with deliberate care. His lips moved slightly, and I realized, with shock, that he was fighting a smile. Was he amused? I do not collect rocks, he said at last, his voice low. But I do ride. And read. My jaw nearly dropped. Did I just get the infamous Ice Duke to talk about himself? I leaned in slightly, seizing the opportunity. What kind of books? His gaze softened by a fraction. History. Strategy. Poetry. Poetry. The big scary Duke reads poetry. Images of him sitting under a tree, brooding with a book of romantic verses, flashed through my brain. I had to bite my tongue to stop from giggling. That's wonderful, I said, softer now, genuine curiosity seeping into my voice. For the briefest second, something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe even interest. But then it was gone, hidden behind his mask of indifference. Dinner continued in tense silence, broken only by clinking cutlery. Still, I noticed something. Every time I fumbled awkwardly, every time I nervously smiled too brightly, the corners of his mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. Was I actually entertaining him? As the meal ended, the Duke rose, his towering presence casting a shadow over me. Lady Evelyn. I leapt to my feet so fast I nearly overturned my chair. Yes, Your Grace. His eyes bored into mine, unreadable. Then he inclined his head ever so slightly. You are different than I expected. My heart nearly stopped. Oh no. He noticed. He knows I've changed. He's going to kill me. But then his next words rolled out, smooth as silk. Interesting. And with that, he strode from the hall, his cloak billowing behind him like a storm cloud. I stood frozen in place, knees wobbling. Then I collapsed back into my chair, clutching my chest. Different, I whispered to myself. Interesting. That's good, right? That means I'm not dead yet. Anna hurried to my side, her face pale. My lady, please, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I've never seen the Duke look at someone like that. A slow smile crept across my lips. My heart still raced with terror, but beneath it bloomed something else, something dangerously close to excitement. Step 1, survive dinner, I muttered, grinning to myself. Complete. Chapter 4, Operation Charm the Duke. The next morning, I stood before the mirror with the determination of a general preparing for war. Today, I declared to my reflection, I begin Operation Charm the Duke. Anna, brushing out my long blonde hair, blinked in confusion. Pardon, my lady. Nothing. I said quickly, waving her off. If I tell her, she'll think I've completely lost it. Which, okay, maybe I have. But it didn't matter. If this world wanted me to be a villainess doomed to die at the hands of my terrifyingly handsome fiancé, then I would rewrite the script myself. Step 1, make him fall hopelessly in love with me. Step 2, live happily ever after. Step 3, buy a castle full of puppies. Simple, right? Except for the tiny detail that I had absolutely no idea how to charm a duke. In my old life, I couldn't even charm the convenience store cashier into giving me extra napkins. How am I supposed to seduce a man who looks like he eats diamonds for breakfast? Still, I had to try. I chose my softest, most delicate dress, a pale blue gown that shimmered like morning dew. I even practiced my smile in the mirror, tilting my head just so. The result? A face that looked like I was trying to sell questionable life insurance. Perfect, I muttered, ignoring Anna's horrified look. Later that day, I found myself strolling through the gardens, waiting for the Duke. Rumor had it he often came here after his morning training. Sure enough, there he was, tall, broad-shouldered, his dark hair damp with sweat as he pulled off his gloves. The sunlight caught in his grey eyes, making him look like some untouchable war god. My stomach flipped. Okay, Evelyn. Time to shine. Just, don't say anything stupid. I glided toward him, or tried to, really, I nearly tripped on the gravel path. Your Grace, I called sweetly. What a lovely morning. He paused, giving me a brief nod. Lady Evelyn. Have you eaten breakfast? I asked, my voice too high. He frowned slightly. Yes. Oh, wonderful. I forced a laugh. I was only asking because, breakfast is important. For health. And growing bones. Growing bones. Why? Why did I say that? The Duke stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, just for a split second, the corner of his mouth curved upward. Was he amused? Again. I nearly fainted from relief. Seizing my chance, I gestured toward a bench beneath a flowering tree. Would you sit with me, Your Grace? Just for a moment. To my shock, he agreed, taking the seat beside me with the elegance of a man who had never once tripped in his life. I perched stiffly at his side, rehearsing a dozen charming lines in my head. Say something witty. Something cute. Something unforgettable. So, I blurted, do you like ducks? Silence. My soul left my body. The Duke slowly turned his head, one dark brow arched. Ducks? Yes. Ducks are, very noble creatures. Soft, yet fierce. I nodded rapidly, as if this was an important political statement. For the first time since I'd met him, Duke Adrian let out a low sound that might have been a laugh. Not a cold chuckle. Not a mocking smirk. A real laugh, rich and warm, like velvet. I froze, staring at him in awe. He laughs. The Duke of Death actually laughs. He quickly composed himself, though his eyes still glimmered with faint amusement. You are not what I expected, Lady Evelyn. That's good, I said brightly, my heart pounding. Expectations are boring. Surprise is exciting, right? His gaze lingered on me a moment longer, and for the first time I thought I saw a trace of curiosity in his eyes, like he couldn't quite figure me out. We sat there for a while in companionable silence, the air filled with birdsong. My hands trembled in my lap, but inside I was screaming. Step 2, make him laugh. Complete. Now, if only I could survive step 3 without dying of embarrassment. That night, sprawled across my massive bed, I stared at the ceiling with a grin. Okay, I whispered to myself, maybe this Duke isn't so scary after all. Maybe, just maybe, I can actually do this. I pulled the blankets over my head, giggling into the pillows like a lovesick teenager. But as sleep began to pull me under, I couldn't help the thought that crept in at the edges of my mind. In the novel, Evelyn Grace dies because she pushes the Duke too far. If I'm not careful, no amount of charm will save me. I have to play this game perfectly. I squeezed my eyes shut, determination burning in my chest. I will not die again. Not this time. Chapter 5. The Duke's Perspective. Duke Adrian Blackthorn sat alone in the library, the faint scent of old parchment and polished wood filling the air. His grey eyes, usually sharp and calculating, were clouded with confusion. Why is she like this? Lady Evelyn Grace, the girl who had, until yesterday, been a perfectly insufferable villainess, had somehow transformed overnight. Gone was the haughty smirk, the cruel tongue that lacerated every noble in the room. In her place was a mess of nerves, awkward smiles, and peculiar statements about ducks. Ducks. He shook his head, trying to make sense of it. This was the same Evelyn Grace who had insulted his honor at every turn in the original story. The same Evelyn Grace who had schemed to manipulate him and ultimately perish by her own arrogance. And yet, here she was. Different. He recalled the way she had stumbled across the gravel path in the garden, trying to appear graceful, and the way she had managed to make an awkward comment about breakfast and growing bones. A low, unexpected sound escaped his throat. A laugh. No, not a laugh. A chuckle. Subtle, restrained, but utterly human. Adrian straightened in his chair. I am the Duke. I do not chuckle at trivialities. I do not find amusement in nonsense. And yet, he had to admit, the girl was interesting. Interesting enough that he found himself wondering what she might say next. Interesting enough that he caught himself glancing toward her chambers during meals, hoping to see her practicing some ridiculous scheme to survive. Interesting enough that his mind wandered in ways it hadn't for years. She is not like the Evelyn Grace I knew. The thought was both unnerving and strangely delightful. And then there was the matter of her eyes. Blue, deep, unfathomable, like the ocean at dawn. Dangerous, yes, but mesmerizing. He remembered the moment she had tilted her head, smiled awkwardly, and somehow, against all reason, made him question whether he was truly the cold, unfeeling Duke everyone feared. Adrian shook his head again. Focus. She is supposed to be a villainess. Dangerous. Irresponsible. And yet, she makes me smile, laugh, think differently. His fingers drummed against the table. The Duke, who had never admitted uncertainty in his life, found himself thinking of scenarios he should never have considered. What if she survived? What if she thrived? What if he wanted her to stay exactly like this? The idea made him flush beneath his composure. No, I am the Duke. I do not entertain nonsense, I do not indulge in whims, and I certainly do not fall for someone like her. And yet, as he recalled the small, awkward smiles, the frantic determination, and the faint blush she had worn like armor in the garden, Adrian could not help the pull at his chest. She is fascinating. For the first time in years, the Duke considered that perhaps fate had dealt him an unexpected hand. And he might actually be enjoying it. Chapter 6. Misunderstandings and Accidents. The next morning, Evelyn Grace awoke with the determination of a heroine in a drama. Today, she thought, I will charm the Duke without accidentally setting anything on fire, poisoning anyone, or tripping over my own skirts. Anna peeked in nervously, holding a tray of tea. My lady, are you sure this is wise? The Duke is not easily impressed. I grinned, brushing back my hair. Anna, it's fine. I've got this. Charm, grace, subtlety. Nothing can go wrong. Famous last words. The plan started innocently enough. A small picnic in the palace gardens, just the two of us. Evelyn had prepared a basket of homemade bread, fruits, and, a suspiciously burnt quiche. Step 1. Look sweet and helpless. Step 2. Engage him in charming conversation. Step 3. Do not, under any circumstances, die or embarrass yourself. Unfortunately, as soon as the Duke arrived, the first step of the plan fell apart. He walked into the garden, eyes narrowed, surveying the picnic like a general inspecting a battlefield. Lady Evelyn, he said flatly. Your Grace, I replied, curtsying, but somehow managed to stumble over a tree root and crash headfirst into the picnic blanket. The bread went flying. Fruits bounced across the grass. And my cheeks burned so hot I could have cooked the quiche on my face. The Duke raised one brow, entirely unfazed. Are you always this clumsy? I scrambled upright, brushing myself off and forcing a smile. No, I just wanted to make a dramatic entrance. 4 style points. He blinked once. Style points. Yes. Very fashionable. I waved my hands wildly, hoping my incoherent rambling would seem charming instead of ridiculous. He sighed, a sound that was equal parts exasperation and something softer. Very well. Sit. Attempt number 2. Conversation. I leaned in, trying to appear thoughtful. Your Grace, do you like cats? Cats? Yes. They are small, mysterious, and independent, much like yourself. The Duke's lips twitched, and I swear I saw the faintest spark of amusement in his eyes. Victory. Step 2. Engage in charming conversation. Complete. Then came step 3. Survival. I reached for a piece of fruit, only to have a particularly aggressive grape slip from my fingers, roll across the Duke's polished boots, and, like fate itself mocking me, bounce straight into his lap. Oh no! I gasped, rushing to retrieve it, only to slip on the grass entirely and end up sprawled across his knees. The Duke froze. The garden went silent. The birds stopped singing. Even the trees seemed to hold their breath. I gasped, struggling to untangle myself. Testing the grass. He looked down at me, expression unreadable for a long moment, before letting out a low, reluctant laugh. You are unlike any woman I have met. He laughed. He actually laughed. I froze, eyes wide. Does this count as step 2? Or did I just die? The rest of the afternoon was a blur of disasters and small victories. A sudden breeze blew my hair into my tea, creating what could only be described as a hair tornado. I tried to compliment him on his boots, only to trip again and nearly topple over the picnic basket. Somehow, amidst all this chaos, he didn't glare at me once. Not once. Instead, he kept a faint, amused smirk on his face. By the time we returned to the palace, Evelyn was exhausted, sweaty, and covered in dirt, but alive. And more importantly, the Duke seemed strangely intrigued. Anna met me at the doorway, hands on her hips. My lady, are you insane? I leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Yes, but I think it's working. That night, as I lay in bed replaying the day, I grinned like a mischievous fox. Step 1. Survive dinner. Complete. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Mostly complete. Step 3. Don't die from embarrassment. In progress. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, this Duke wasn't the insurmountable villain I'd feared. But oh, Evelyn Grace, I whispered, curling into the blankets, if he finds out you're faking it, you're dead. Chapter 7. Rivals and Complications. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of the palace, but Evelyn Grace barely noticed. She was too busy trying to rehearse just how charming she could be without accidentally insulting anyone, or tripping again. "Anna," she whispered, pacing her chambers, "I need to know, who else is likely to cause me trouble?" Anna blinked. "My lady, there is Lady Serafina Valcourt. She has been courting the Duke's favor for months. I stopped mid-step, dramatically clutching my chest. Rival alert. She's going to try and ruin me, isn't she? Anna nodded. She is cunning, my lady. And beautiful. Beautiful. My reflection in the mirror screamed at me. Do I look like a disaster next to her? I straightened my back. No. Evelyn Grace is not a disaster. Evelyn Grace is a strategic, cunning, fabulous, terrifying, very charming genius. Yes, genius. The first encounter was inevitable. The grand ballroom shimmered with golden light and polished marble. The Duke was there, immaculately dressed as always, surveying the assembled ladies with the icy calm that made him legendary. And then, I saw her. Lady Serafina Valcourt, tall, perfect, flawless, like she had stepped out of a painting. Every step she took was precise, every smile calculated. Her eyes flicked to me the instant I entered, sharp with barely concealed disdain. Oh no. Serafina glided toward the Duke with the elegance of a swan. Evelyn gulped. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Charm him. Step 3. Don't get humiliated by a prettier version of yourself. Before I could even plan my approach, Serafina leaned close to the Duke and whispered something. His eyes narrowed slightly. He wasn't impressed. Perfect. Step 1 success. Duke still tolerates me. It was my turn. I curtsied, giving the Duke my most radiant, practiced smile. Good evening, Your Grace. He nodded. That was fine. Neutral. Safe. I attempted small talk, trying to sound light-hearted. It is quite warm tonight, isn't it? Serafina raised an eyebrow. Yes. Though I prefer the cool of evening. Seriously? I thought. Did she just try to one-up me with weather preference? The Duke glanced between us, his expression unreadable. Typical Adrian. Playing us like puppets. Then came the first real disaster. I reached to pour a glass of wine in an attempt to appear sophisticated, but my trembling hands betrayed me. The goblet wobbled, teetered, and, splash, spilled across the floor, narrowly missing the Duke's boots, but splashing Serafina's gown. The ballroom froze. Gasps echoed. I froze mid-motion, heart pounding. Serafina hissed. You. I panicked. Oh no. I'm so sorry. Duke Adrian's eyes narrowed. And then, unexpectedly, he laughed. A full, low, amused laugh. Victory. I wondered, blinking at him. He didn't seem angry. In fact, he gestured for me to stand. It's fine. I gaped, speechless. He's actually defending me? Serafina's face paled, lips pressed into a tight line. She glared at me, obviously furious that her plan to charm him first had failed, spectacularly. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Slightly enhanced by clumsy heroics. Complete. The rest of the evening was chaos wrapped in elegance. I tripped over the hem of my dress again while trying to curtsy to the Duke. I accidentally knocked over a silver candlestick. Fortunately, no one was hit. And somehow, between all the mishaps, the Duke kept looking at me with that faint, intrigued smile. As the night ended, Serafina shot me one last venomous glare before sweeping out of the ballroom. I collapsed into Anna's arms behind the curtains. Did you see that? He laughed. At me. And he defended me. Anna, I'm doing it. I'm charming him. Anna, still pale, adjusted my hair nervously. Yes, my lady. But I think Lady Serafina will try again. She will not give up easily. I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Let her try. Evelyn Grace is ready. Let the games begin. Chapter 8. Sparks start to fly. The sun had barely risen, but Evelyn was already wide awake, pacing her chambers like a general planning for war. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Step 3. Don't die from embarrassment. Step 4. Make the Duke start noticing me, without realizing it's intentional. Yes, she had thought long and hard about that one. Subtlety was not her strong suit. Anna peeked in with a tray of tea. "My lady, are you sure it's wise to try again today?" I gave her a grin that was equal parts mischief and determination. "Anna, darling, it's not just wise, it's essential." Operation Charm the Duke continues. Today, we escalate. By mid-morning, Evelyn found herself in the gardens again, arranging a small bouquet of wildflowers. The idea: gift them to the Duke. A simple, elegant gesture to show delightful charm without embarrassing myself, or so she hoped. Of course, as she bent to pick a particularly stubborn blossom, a bee buzzed ominously around her hair. She flailed, sending petals flying, tripping over loose stone, and landing, yes, again, directly in front of the Duke. He was already there, reading a book under a tree, and now he looked up just in time to see Evelyn sprawled in a heap of blue silk and wildflowers, glaring up at him with wide, panicked eyes. "You again," he said, his voice calm, yet there was that faint glimmer of amusement in his grey eyes. "He remembered me." "Why, yes." I gasped, scrambling to my knees and trying to look poised while simultaneously sneezing as a petal brushed my nose. "I mean, good morning, Your Grace. I picked these flowers for you because you're heroic." The Duke tilted his head, the corner of his mouth twitching. "Heroic?" "Yes. Heroic. Brave. Terrifyingly handsome and unapproachably perfect." I added hastily, realizing I'd accidentally complimented him in a slightly panicked, exaggerated way. He blinked, his expression unreadable for a moment. And then, impossibly, he chuckled. "Victory. Step 1000. He laughed at me again. The day only got more ridiculous. Evelyn tried to help him with his horse, only to get tangled in the reins, nearly being dragged across the courtyard. She attempted a graceful bow, but instead fell forward, bumping lightly against the Duke's shoulder. Somehow, in all of this chaos, he caught her hand, steadying her, and didn't let go immediately. Her heart nearly exploded. Does he always have to be so terrifyingly perfect and comforting at the same time? "Careful," he murmured, his voice low and uncharacteristically soft. "You will hurt yourself." I'm fine," she stammered, cheeks burning. "And I am definitely not fainting from how close he is." He released her hand, but the faintest smile lingered. And in that moment, Evelyn realized something terrifying. She was enjoying this. Enjoying him. "No, Evelyn," she whispered to herself. "Do not fall for him. This is a survival plan." But every time he laughed softly at her ridiculous antics, or glanced at her like he was curious, she felt her heart leap. Step 4. Make the Duke notice me. Step 5. Survive my rapidly accelerating feelings. By the time evening came, Evelyn slumped onto her bed, utterly exhausted but triumphant. "Anna," she whispered, clutching a pillow. "He's different than I imagined. I think he's actually starting to like me." Anna raised an eyebrow, suspicious. "Starting to like you, my lady?" "Yes," I said emphatically, bouncing slightly on the bed. "But it's for survival purposes, of course. Totally strategic. Absolutely not romantic. Definitely not blushing whenever he's near. Nope. Survival only." She collapsed onto her pillows with a grin, closing her eyes. Deep down, she knew her heart had already started skipping whenever Duke Adrian was around. But survival came first. Charm him. Stay alive. Everything else could wait. Chapter 9. A Dangerous Plot. The next morning, Evelyn was humming cheerfully as Anna laced her gown. "Why are you in such a good mood, my lady?" Anna asked, raising an eyebrow. Evelyn grinned. "Because, dear Anna, I made the Duke laugh twice yesterday." "Twice? At this rate, I'll have him utterly charmed before the season ends." Anna sighed, muttering something under her breath that sounded suspiciously like "God help us all." Evelyn twirled, admiring herself in the mirror. Today, she announced, I am elegance incarnate. Grace itself. Nothing can stop me. She was wrong. By noon, disaster struck. Evelyn had been invited to the afternoon tea gathering in the Rose Garden, hosted by none other than Lady Clarissa, the Duke's cousin, renowned for her beauty and her razor-sharp tongue. Clarissa's smile was sweet as sugar when Evelyn arrived, but her eyes glinted with malice. "Oh, Lady Evelyn," Clarissa said, gesturing to a chair. "Do join us. We were just discussing how refreshing it is to see you out of bed after your little illness. Such fragility doesn't quite suit you, does it?" Evelyn forced a smile. "Ah, a mean girl. My specialty. Yes, well," she said sweetly, "fragility suits me far better than bitterness. At least one can recover from the first." The other ladies tittered. Clarissa's smile faltered. Round 1, Evelyn. The tea continued with polite chatter, but Evelyn couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. Her suspicion proved correct when a maid, one she didn't recognize, set down a cup of tea in front of her. The faintest bitter scent drifted up. Evelyn froze. In her previous life of reading novels, she knew this trope all too well. Poison. Oh, come on, she thought. Can't a girl transmigrate in peace without someone trying to murder her at a tea party? As Clarissa raised her own cup with exaggerated grace, Evelyn smirked. Time to improvise. She accidentally stumbled, bumping the table so her teacup tipped over, right into Clarissa's lap. "Ah, my dress!" Clarissa shrieked, leaping up as the other ladies gasped. Evelyn covered her mouth dramatically. "Oh, Lady Clarissa. How clumsy of me. I must have been terribly distracted by your beauty." The ladies giggled again, hiding their smiles behind fans. Clarissa's face darkened like a thundercloud. Round 2, Evelyn. By the time Evelyn returned to her chambers, she was breathless with both triumph and dread. "Anna," she hissed. "Someone tried to poison me today. Poison. Can you believe it? I survived and insulted Clarissa with style. That's called multitasking." Anna's face paled. "Poison? My lady, are you certain?" Evelyn flopped onto her bed, grinning smugly. "As certain as I am that the Duke looks unfairly good in black coats." Anna stared at her. "I'll inform the Duke." "What? No." Evelyn sat up, waving frantically. "He'll think I'm weak or paranoid. Besides, it was nothing. A little poison never hurt anyone." Anna blinked at her. "My lady, that is not how poison works." Later that evening, however, Evelyn's plan to keep it quiet failed spectacularly. The Duke appeared at her door, his expression darker than a storm. "Is it true?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Someone tried to harm you at tea." Evelyn froze, caught like a rabbit in a trap. "Ah, well, harm is such a strong word. I'd call it an overly spiced beverage." His eyes narrowed. "Evelyn." Her heart skipped. He said her name. He never said her name. She wilted under his gaze. "Fine. Yes. But don't worry, I heroically dumped it on Clarissa's lap. Crisis averted." To her utter shock, the Duke's hand clenched into a fist at his side. His jaw tightened. And for the briefest moment, she saw something that wasn't coldness or amusement in his eyes. It was anger. Real, protective anger. "Do not take this lightly," he said quietly. "Anyone who dares harm you will regret it." Evelyn blinked at him, her mouth suddenly dry. You're angry. For me." He looked away, his expression shuttered again. "Do not misunderstand." But as he turned to leave, Evelyn swore she saw the faintest trace of worry lingering in his grey eyes. Her heart thumped wildly. Oh no. His protective. That's dangerously attractive. Chapter 10. An Unexpected Dance. The grand ballroom glittered with chandeliers, their golden light spilling across marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Nobles in silks and jewels drifted like butterflies, voices blending with the swell of music from the orchestra. Evelyn Grace adjusted the hem of her gown, trying to appear calm while her insides quivered. "Okay, Evelyn. This is it. A ball scene. Classic manhwa moment. The heroine usually dazzles, trips, or somehow steals the male lead's heart with one unforgettable moment. And I am wearing 3 layers of petticoats and shoes designed to kill me. Breathe, my lady, Anna whispered as she fussed with Evelyn's hair. You look radiant. I look like a peacock with anxiety, Evelyn muttered. When she entered the ballroom, conversation stilled briefly. Heads turned. Eyes widened. For all her nerves, Evelyn was radiant indeed, her blonde hair shimmering like spun gold, her gown a shade of blue that made her ocean eyes glow. She felt dozens of eyes on her, but her gaze was drawn immediately, inevitably, to him. Duke Adrian Blackthorn. He stood near the dais, dressed in dark attire that only highlighted his broad shoulders and sharp jawline. His piercing grey eyes found hers almost instantly. Her heart skipped. Focus, Evelyn. Survival, not swooning. The ball proceeded with polite dances and chatter, though Evelyn mostly hovered at the edges, trying not to trip over her skirts. But then, the orchestra struck up a new tune, and the master of ceremonies announced. A special waltz, led by His Grace, the Duke of Blackthorn. Evelyn's blood ran cold. No, don't you dare. The Duke's gaze locked onto her like a hawk spotting prey. And then, he crossed the ballroom. Nobles whispered, fans fluttered. He stopped in front of her, bowing slightly, his gloved hand extended. Lady Evelyn, dance with me. The words echoed through her very soul. Okay. Don't panic. Don't squeal. Don't faint. Just accept gracefully like the elegant villainess turned survivor you are. She placed her hand in his, smiling sweetly. Of course, Your Grace. Though, I must warn you. I may step on your toes. His lips curved ever so slightly. I will risk it. The orchestra swelled, and he led her onto the floor. At first, Evelyn focused on not dying. 1 step, 2 step, turn. She clung to his hand, praying she didn't trip. You're trembling, Adrian murmured, his voice low. Am I? She laughed nervously. It's not fear, just excitement. And maybe mild terror. He raised an eyebrow. Mild. She flushed, looking away. Why does he have to be so close? Why does he smell so unfairly good? Why are his eyes doing that? And then, something unexpected happened. She relaxed. Maybe it was the music, maybe it was the way his hand rested firmly at her waist, steady and protective. But suddenly, Evelyn found herself gliding, even laughing softly when she twirled too wide and nearly crashed into another couple. The Duke caught her, pulling her back with ease. His grip tightened. Careful, he murmured again, almost tender. Her breath caught. Their eyes met. For one dizzy, dangerous moment, the world faded away. When the music ended, the ballroom erupted into whispers. Nobles fanned themselves, shocked. The cold, untouchable Duke had just danced, not only danced, but smiled, with Lady Evelyn Grace. Evelyn curtsied shakily, her cheeks aflame. Thank you, Your Grace. He inclined his head, his eyes never leaving hers. The pleasure was mine. And as he turned away, Evelyn clutched her skirts, heart pounding. This wasn't supposed to happen. He's supposed to like me for survival purposes only. So why does my chest feel like it's on fire? That night, lying in bed, Evelyn stared at the ceiling with wide eyes. Anna, she whispered into the dark, I think I'm doomed. Why? Anna asked sleepily. Because I'm not just trying to charm him anymore. I think I'm starting to actually fall for him. Her cheeks burned even in the dark. And from somewhere in the grand estate, Evelyn had no idea that Duke Adrian was sitting alone in his study, thinking of nothing but the blue-eyed girl who had laughed in his arms. Chapter 11. The Jealous Rivals. The morning after the ball, Evelyn awoke with a pounding heart. She buried her face in her pillow. Oh no, oh no, oh no. I danced with the Duke. I laughed. I blushed. I basically declared myself a love-struck idiot in front of half the nobility. Anna bustled in with breakfast, a knowing smile on her face. My lady, the household is buzzing. They say you were breathtaking last night. Evelyn groaned. Breathtaking. More like accident-prone and sweaty. Anna, I'm doomed. But doomed didn't even begin to describe what awaited her. At luncheon, Evelyn found herself surrounded by the very same noblewomen who had been whispering during the ball. Lady Clarissa sat at the head of the table, her smile dripping with venom. "My dear Lady Evelyn," Clarissa cooed, "I simply must compliment your bravery last night. Truly, to step onto the dance floor with His Grace, knowing your reputation." The other women tittered behind their fans. Evelyn tilted her head, forcing a sweet smile. "Why, thank you, Lady Clarissa. Bravery is something I've always admired. It's not easy, after all, to stand in public wearing a dress the color of spoiled mustard and still act confident." The table went silent. Then a few stifled giggles broke out. Clarissa's cheeks flushed. "You!" Evelyn lifted her teacup daintily. "Oh, forgive me. Did I speak aloud?" Round 1, Evelyn. But Clarissa wasn't finished. She leaned in, voice low but sharp. "Tell me, Lady Evelyn, do you truly believe you can hold the Duke's attention? He is not a man swayed by clumsy smiles or desperate schemes. Perhaps last night was nothing more than pity." The words stung more than Evelyn wanted to admit. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Then she remembered. This is a novel. In the original story, Evelyn Grace was cruel, arrogant, and destined to fall. But I'm not that Evelyn. Not anymore. She set her cup down with a delicate clink. "Pity, Lady Clarissa. Oh no. If His Grace pitied me, he wouldn't have smiled. Twice. In one evening. I dare say you haven't managed that feat, have you?" Clarissa's fan snapped shut with a crack. Round 2, Evelyn. Later, as Evelyn left the luncheon, she nearly ran straight into the Duke himself. He regarded her with cool curiosity. "You look pleased." Evelyn blinked. "Do I? Oh, well, that's just the joy of survival. I survived poisoned tea, judgmental noblewomen, and shoes that nearly crippled me last night. Truly, I'm thriving." One corner of his mouth twitched. "Thriving?" "Yes," she declared. "In fact, you should prepare yourself, Your Grace. Because I have no intention of dying tragically this time." The Duke studied her for a long moment, his eyes unreadable. Finally, he inclined his head. "Good. Good." Just one word. But it sent a shiver down her spine. That evening, as Evelyn sat brushing her hair, she replayed the moment again and again. The Duke's voice, low and certain. Good. Her heart thumped. He's not supposed to care. He's supposed to be cold and untouchable. So why does it feel like he's starting to protect me? Anna peeked in, arms crossed. "You're smiling to yourself again, my lady." "I am not." Evelyn snapped, cheeks burning. "Yes, you are," Anna said flatly. "It's either the Duke, or you've fallen in love with your hairbrush." Evelyn buried her face in her pillow, groaning. "Help. I'm falling for him." This was not in the plan. Chapter 12, A Midnight Encounter. The estate was quiet at night, bathed in silver moonlight. Most of the household slept, but Evelyn tossed restlessly in her bed. Her mind whirled. The dance, the whispers, Clarissa's taunts, the Duke's single word. Good. Finally, unable to stay still, she slipped out of bed, wrapped herself in a light shawl, and tiptoed into the gardens. The air was cool, scented faintly with roses and earth. For once, the world felt peaceful. She wandered among the hedges, gazing up at the stars. "You know," she whispered to herself, "in my old life, I never had time to look at the sky. Bills, work, exhaustion. Who knew death would give me a better view?" A voice behind her made her jump. "You speak as if you've lived 2 lives." Evelyn whirled around, heart hammering. Standing there, half in shadow, was Duke Adrian. She nearly yelped. "Why, Your Grace? What are you doing out here? It's midnight. Shouldn't you be brooding in your study or something?" His brow lifted. "Brooding? I mean, reading. Very intensely. With dramatic candlelight. Because that's what mysterious dukes do, right?" The corner of his mouth twitched. "And what of Villainess is? Do they always wander gardens alone at night, whispering secrets to the stars. Evelyn flushed, clutching her shawl tighter. Only the ones trying not to die. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Her eyes widened. Oh no. Too much honesty. For a moment, he studied her in silence. Then, to her surprise, his voice softened. You speak strangely, Evelyn Grace. She swallowed hard. Do I? Yes. He stepped closer, his gaze holding hers. But strangely. I find myself wanting to hear more. Her heart lurched. She tried to cover it with humor, blurting, well, I have many talents. Falling over, spilling tea, insulting people without meaning to, and apparently, talking nonsense under the stars. His lips curved faintly. That, I have noticed. They walked slowly together through the moonlit garden. For once, Evelyn wasn't tripping or panicking. After a stretch of silence, she glanced at him. Do you ever get tired of it? Tired of what? Being untouchable. The cold, perfect Duke everyone whispers about. Doesn't it get lonely? His steps faltered. She immediately regretted the question. But then, he surprised her again. Yes. Her breath caught. He had actually answered. He turned his head, eyes unreadable in the pale light. And you, Lady Evelyn? Do you not tire of playing the villainess? She smiled sadly. Every day. They stopped at the fountain, its water glimmering in the moonlight. Evelyn sat on the edge, hugging her knees. The truth is, I don't want to be remembered as the villainess who died tragically. I want to change things. For once, I want to live. For a long moment, he simply looked at her. His gaze, sharp and calculating as always, now held something else, something softer. Then live, he said quietly. And let no one take that from you. Her heart thudded so hard she thought he might hear it. She forced a wobbly smile. That might be the kindest thing anyone has ever said to me. The Duke said nothing more, but when he offered her his hand to rise, she took it. His grip was warm, steady, grounding. And as they walked back toward the manor together, Evelyn realized something terrifying. She didn't just want to survive anymore. She wanted him. Chapter 13. Whispers of Betrayal. The morning sun glinted off the palace windows, but Evelyn Grace felt anything but bright. Gossip had a way of sneaking in like a shadow. One whispered comment here, a suspicious glance there, and suddenly, the entire court seemed to know exactly what she and the Duke had been doing in the garden and at the ball. Anna peeked in cautiously. My lady, people are talking about you and the Duke. Evelyn froze mid-sip of tea. Talking? What do you mean? They say. His Grace has taken a particular interest in you, Anna whispered, her eyes wide. Evelyn nearly choked. Interest? I mean, yes. But only because, survival. Of course, survival. Anna raised an eyebrow. Survival only works if you behave yourself, my lady. Evelyn groaned. Apparently, I'm failing at survival and discretion. By noon, whispers followed her like a persistent shadow. Servants peeked, ladies tittered, and even the nobles' children pointed fingers. Did you see? One whispered. The Duke and Lady Evelyn walking in the garden last night. Alone. Together. Shocking, another replied. And they laughed. Together. Evelyn's cheeks burned. If anyone knew the full story, about the near poisoning, the tripping, the spilled tea, they'd think I'm utterly ridiculous. But she couldn't let it get to her. She had a plan. Charm, survive, and now, navigate palace politics without accidentally insulting half the court. As if the universe weren't dramatic enough, Lady Clarissa appeared, fanning herself and glaring daggers. My dear Lady Evelyn, Clarissa said sweetly, voice laced with poison, I hear you are becoming quite close to His Grace. How fortunate for you, though I hope it is not merely a fleeting amusement. It would be tragic if rumors spread of impropriety, wouldn't it? Evelyn smiled sweetly back. Oh, Lady Clarissa, how perceptive you are. Truly, it would be tragic if such rumors weren't entirely false. Clarissa blinked, taken aback by the calm confidence in Evelyn's tone. False. Yes, false. Evelyn inclined her head. Though it does make me wonder, are you so worried about me, or about losing your place? The other ladies gasped. Clarissa's cheeks flushed. Evelyn smirked inwardly. Round 1. Survived the venomous comment. And planted doubt in her head. Round 2. Success. Later, Evelyn wandered the palace corridors, trying to think of a strategy to deal with gossip. Anna, she muttered, I need a plan. If Clarissa and her cronies continue whispering, I could lose everything before I even finish charming the Duke properly. Anna looked worried. You're very bold, my lady. Evelyn shrugged. Bold, yes. Desperate, maybe. But clever. Always clever. She paused, thinking, perhaps it's time to turn the whispers to my advantage. If people think the Duke favors me, maybe it will protect me. And maybe it will make him notice me even more. A mischievous grin tugged at her lips. Evelyn Grace was no longer just surviving. She was playing the game, and for once, she was beginning to enjoy it. That evening, as the Duke passed by her chambers, he inclined his head slightly, his eyes soft yet unreadable. You've made quite an impression today, he said quietly. Evelyn froze, trying to act casual. Impression? Oh, I hope a good one, Your Grace. He allowed the faintest smile. Very good. But remember, not all impressions are meant to be harmless. Evelyn's heart skipped. Not harmless. Oh, he's worried. For me. And for the first time, she realized that the game of survival had shifted. It wasn't just about staying alive. She had caught his attention, and that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Chapter 14. Unexpected Allies. The palace was quieter than usual that morning, the kind of calm that hinted something was about to happen. Evelyn Grace adjusted her gown in the mirror, mentally preparing herself for another day of surviving court gossip, rivalries, and accidental disasters. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Step 3. Don't trip over my own feet. Step 4. Make allies before someone tries to poison me again. Anna peeked in, brushing a strand of hair from Evelyn's face. My lady. I think you should meet someone. She's, well, a friend. And she might be able to help you with the palace intrigues. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. A friend? In a palace full of snakes and vipers? This should be interesting. In the library, Evelyn met Lady Celestine. She was unlike the other noblewomen, slightly dishevelled, with a sharp wit and eyes that sparkled with mischief. Ah, you must be the infamous Evelyn Grace, Celestine said with a grin. I've heard all about your exploits, tripping over the Duke, spilling tea, making enemies. Quite impressive. Evelyn blinked. Thank you. Celestine laughed. Relax. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. The court is dangerous, yes, but even snakes need a few allies. Evelyn tilted her head. And why would you help me? Because, Celestine said with a sly smile, I find your chaos entertaining. And frankly, it's refreshing to see someone survive in this place without being entirely boring or cruel. Well, that's a first, Evelyn thought, trying not to grin. The first strategy session began immediately. Evelyn explained Clarissa, the whispers, and the Duke's reactions. Celestine listened, nodding, occasionally scribbling notes. You're clever, she said. But subtlety isn't your strong suit. That's okay. We'll play the game for you, soften the blows, redirect gossip, make your charm seem effortless. Evelyn frowned. Soften the blows. Trust me, Celestine replied, leaning in conspiratorially. You don't want Clarissa's venom coming straight at you. But if it passes through me first, it comes out tasting like sugar. Evelyn laughed. I like this plan. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Charm the Duke. Step 3. Turn gossip into allies. Step 4. Drink tea without dying. Celestine clapped. Exactly. Now we begin. That afternoon, the first test came sooner than expected. Clarissa had spread a particularly vicious rumor, that Evelyn had manipulated the Duke into laughing at her expense at the ball. It had reached several important nobles. Evelyn panicked, until Celestine appeared by her side. "Step aside," Celestine whispered. "Let me handle this." With wit, charm, and just enough misdirection, Celestine redirected the gossip subtly, turning Evelyn into a figure of admiration rather than scandal. Evelyn watched, amazed. "She's incredible." Celestine winked. "I told you. Allies are powerful. And now, the Duke will hear only the truth. Or what we want him to hear." Later that evening, Evelyn reflected on the day. Unexpected allies. "I never thought I'd need them." She smiled. "But maybe, they're exactly what I need to survive, and maybe, charm him more effectively." Anna peered around the door. "My lady, do you think the Duke noticed?" Evelyn grinned mischievously. "Oh, Anna. He notices everything. But that's exactly why we play the game." The game of survival had just become far more interesting, and far more dangerous. Chapter 15, The Duke's Secret. The palace corridors were unusually quiet that evening. Evelyn Grace wandered, her thoughts a tangled mess of gossip, rivalries, and the Duke's lingering gaze from the previous night. He's always so unreadable, like a storm about to break. How is someone so terrifying and fascinating all at once? Anna trailed behind her nervously. "My lady, are you sure you want to wander alone at this hour?" Evelyn waved her off. "Yes, Anna. Curiosity is a virtue, and perhaps a survival tactic. Besides, I have a feeling something interesting is about to happen." As she passed the library, she noticed the door slightly ajar. Inside, a warm candlelight flickered, illuminating a tall figure hunched over a table covered in documents. Adrian. Oh no. Caught trespassing. Evelyn thought. Or, caught spying. She stepped closer, pretending casual curiosity. "Your Grace." He looked up, startled, then immediately softened at the sight of her. "Lady Evelyn, this is unexpected." "I could say the same," she replied, trying to sound composed while her heart raced. Adrian gestured toward the chair opposite him. "Sit, if you wish. But, do not disturb my work." Evelyn hesitated, then sat gracefully, trying not to appear like she was silently panicking. "Of course. Work is important." He studied her, eyes piercing. "Curious, aren't you? Not many would wander the halls at this hour." "I am trying to survive, remember? And part of survival is understanding the people around me," she said carefully. His expression softened, though still unreadable. "And do you understand me?" Evelyn blinked. "Do I? Not entirely, but I'd like to try. If that counts." He chuckled softly, a rare, low sound that made her pulse quicken. "Perhaps. Very few have attempted." As the night stretched on, Evelyn watched him work. The candlelight reflected off his sharp features, and for a moment, she saw something hidden beneath the Duke's cold exterior. Exhaustion, perhaps loneliness, and a hint of vulnerability. "You carry burdens," she said quietly, almost as if she weren't speaking to him directly. He froze, looking up at her, eyes sharp. "And what makes you think you understand burdens?" "Because I know what it's like to be trapped by expectations," she said softly. "To feel like the world wants you to be someone you're not, and to survive anyway." Adrian studied her, the tension in his posture easing slightly. "You speak wisely." Evelyn felt her chest tighten. This wasn't survival advice or charm, it was recognition. He's not just observing me, he's connecting. Finally, he leaned back, sighing. Not many have the courage to speak like that. Most simply bow, smile, and obey. You do not. She smiled faintly. Well, that would be boring, wouldn't it? For a moment, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Candlelight, whispered secrets, and a sense of understanding neither had expected. Adrian's voice softened. "Perhaps. I have underestimated you, Evelyn Grace." Her heart skipped. Underestimated? That's a compliment, right? She nodded, cheeks warm. "Perhaps. But now you know better." He studied her silently, then returned to his papers, though his eyes lingered on her longer than necessary. Evelyn watched him, her mind racing with the realization that the Duke's layers were far more complex than she had imagined, and that surviving this story might involve more than cleverness and charm. It might involve understanding him, too. Chapter 16. The Rival's Trap. The morning sun streamed through the windows, but Evelyn Grace felt anything but bright. A note had been slipped under her door, written in delicate, flowing script. Meet me in the East Wing Library. Alone. We have matters to discuss. Z. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. C for Clarissa, obviously. And matters to discuss obviously means trouble. Anna peeked in, eyes wide. My lady, are you going to meet her? Evelyn smirked, brushing back her hair. Of course. It would be rude not to. And besides, survival requires strategy, not avoidance. Anna groaned. I feel like I'm babysitting a very reckless plan. The East Wing Library was quiet, the scent of old books mingling with polished wood. Evelyn stepped carefully between the shelves, note in hand. Lady Evelyn, a voice cooed from behind a tall stack of books. So punctual. I almost admire it, almost. Lady Clarissa emerged, her smile sweet but sharp as a blade. Shall we discuss your charming display last night? Evelyn folded her arms, smiling innocently. Charming. Oh, Clarissa, you flatter me. But I suspect we're here to discuss something less flattering. Clarissa's eyes narrowed. Don't be clever. I know your type. You aim to manipulate, to make his grace fall for you, to take the spotlight that is rightfully mine. I cannot allow it. Evelyn's grin widened. Then I suppose we have a problem. Because I plan to survive. And charming the Duke. That's a bonus. Clarissa stepped closer, her tone venomous. Watch yourself, Evelyn Grace. One misstep, one slip, and you will regret ever trying to charm him. Evelyn tilted her head, her smile playful. Oh, Clarissa, the last time I checked, threats were far more effective if you actually followed through. Otherwise, they're just noise. Clarissa gasped, furious. How dare you? But before she could finish, a voice rang out behind them, calm but commanding. Clarissa, step away. Evelyn's heart leapt. Duke Adrian had appeared, his grey eyes cold as steel, and yet, there was that faint trace of protectiveness she was beginning to recognize. Clarissa froze, taken aback. Your Grace. Do not test my patience, Adrian said, his voice low, warning. He glanced at Evelyn. Are you unharmed? Evelyn nodded, bowing slightly. Yes, Your Grace. Fully unharmed, thanks to your timely arrival. The Duke's eyes narrowed at Clarissa. Any attempt to threaten her will be met with consequences. Do I make myself clear? Yes. Your Grace, Clarissa whispered, retreating with a flick of her fan, her fury barely contained. As the door closed behind Clarissa, Evelyn turned to the Duke, heart still pounding. Your timely arrival, quite dramatic, she said, trying to mask the flutter in her chest. Adrian's expression softened, just slightly. I warned you not to be careless. But it seems, you have a talent for drawing trouble. And surviving it. Evelyn laughed softly, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I do try, Your Grace. And with the right allies, or the right protectors. She let the words hang teasingly. He studied her, then gave the faintest, rare smile. Perhaps your recklessness is intriguing. Evelyn felt her heart leap. Intriguing. He called me intriguing. And for the first time, she realized something terrifying. Surviving the palace was no longer just a game. She was beginning to enjoy it, especially with the Duke by her side. Chapter 17. A dangerous invitation. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of roses from the palace gardens, but Evelyn Grace's mood was far from serene. A formal invitation rested on her dressing table, sealed with black wax and the emblem of the royal court. She broke the seal with a mix of curiosity and dread. Lady Evelyn Grace, you are cordially invited to attend a private gathering in the West Wing this evening. Your presence is requested. The court council. Evelyn's brow furrowed. Private gatherings were never casual. Something is afoot. Anna peeked in, voice trembling. My lady, the West Wing. Alone. Are you certain you should attend? Evelyn smirked, brushing back her hair. Anna, survival is about taking calculated risks. And if this is dangerous, well, then danger is my business. Anna groaned. You have the reckless part down perfectly already. That evening, Evelyn arrived at the West Wing. The hallway was dimly lit, the candlelight casting long, flickering shadows. Her heart raced, not just from the possibility of danger, but from anticipation. She paused before the door to the council chamber. All right, Evelyn. Charm, wit, survive. Step 1, don't faint. Inside, several influential nobles and courtiers were already gathered, their whispers fading as she entered. At the center stood a man Evelyn hadn't met before, Lord Harrington, a cunning politician known for his scheming and his icy smile. Ah, Lady Evelyn, he said smoothly, bowing. We've been expecting you. Your recent interactions with Duke Adrian have not gone unnoticed. Evelyn's pulse quickened. Oh no. Political intrigue. Just what I needed. She forced a polite smile. I hope my behavior has been acceptable. Lord Harrington's eyes gleamed with curiosity. Acceptable, perhaps. But you must understand, appearances are everything. The court watches, and the wrong impression can be costly. Evelyn nodded carefully. Then I shall endeavor to be impressive. As the conversation continued, Evelyn noticed someone slipping a folded note toward her. She discreetly opened it. Meet me in the garden after the gathering. Urgent. Adrian. Her cheeks flushed. The Duke. He wants to speak with me, in secret. This could be trouble, or opportunity. Throughout the evening, Evelyn navigated the conversation with the council, subtly redirecting gossip, offering clever responses, and maintaining her charm. By the time the gathering concluded, she had survived the scrutiny, and even gained a few allies among the courtiers. Once the hall emptied, she made her way to the garden under the cover of darkness. The moonlight shimmered across the fountain as Duke Adrian waited, tall and imposing, yet somehow softer in the night. You took your time, he said, voice low, almost teasing. I had to survive the council first, she replied with a grin. Besides, I enjoy suspense. Adrian's gaze softened. You have courage and intelligence. I underestimated you. Evelyn swallowed hard, her pulse quickening. Thank you. Your Grace. But perhaps you should not underestimate me again. He stepped closer, and for a moment, the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them. I have no intention of underestimating you again, Evelyn Grace. But, be careful. The court is dangerous, and not all threats are obvious. Her heart raced. I'm careful, mostly. But a little danger can be exhilarating. Adrian studied her, the corner of his mouth twitching in the faintest smile. Indeed. But remember, I am watching. Evelyn's cheeks burned, and she realized something thrilling. The game of survival had now intertwined with something far more dangerous and far more exciting, her growing connection with the Duke. Chapter 18. The Duke's Challenge. The morning sun poured into Evelyn Grace's chamber, but she hardly noticed. Her mind was still spinning from last night's secret meeting with Duke Adrian in the garden. His, different from what I expected. Protective, but not overbearing. Observant, but warm in his own way. And his challenging me. I need to be clever, witty, and not die. Anna entered, carrying a tray of tea and breakfast, her expression worried. My lady, the Duke, sent a message. He requests your presence in the library at noon. Alone. Evelyn blinked. Alone. Anna nodded. He said, it's urgent. Urgent. That sounds ominous. Or exciting. Or both. Evelyn's lips curved into a sly grin. Perfect. A challenge. I accept. By noon, Evelyn arrived at the library, her nerves tingling. The room smelled of old books and polished wood. There, Duke Adrian stood, arms crossed, his grey eyes sharp as ever. Lady Evelyn, he greeted, voice calm but commanding. I have a challenge for you. Evelyn tilted her head. A challenge? Yes. I need to know if your cleverness is truly as remarkable as it seems. Her heart raced. Oh. And what, exactly, does this challenge entail? Adrian's lips curved faintly. You will navigate a scenario in which deception, observation, and tact are essential. If you succeed, you will earn my trust. If you fail, I will know how easily you can be manipulated. Evelyn's pulse quickened. Manipulated? Not on my watch. He handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a note with a seemingly simple task. The court is abuzz with rumors that threaten to harm your reputation. By sunset, correct the situation without causing offense, without revealing your hand, and without drawing further suspicion. Succeed, and you earn my approval. Evelyn blinked. Oh, this is tricky. Subtlety, diplomacy, cleverness, survival. My specialty. Consider this a test of survival and wit, Adrian said quietly, his gaze locking onto hers. I will observe. Do not disappoint me. Evelyn bowed, hiding her thrill. I live to survive, Your Grace. And perhaps, to impress as well. The rest of the day became a flurry of clever maneuvers. Evelyn spoke with servants, redirected gossip, and offered subtle compliments and diversions to noblewomen without revealing her involvement. She planted hints of admiration for Clarissa in the right ears, turning the rival's own whispers into harmless entertainment. By sunset, the rumor that could have ruined her had been completely neutralized, and Evelyn stood in the library, catching her breath. Adrian appeared silently behind her. Impressive. Evelyn spun around, startled. Your Grace. I managed. He stepped closer, his eyes studying her. Yes. Your cleverness, composure, and charm, all intact. You have exceeded expectations. Her heart leapt. Exceeded expectations, him noticing, me surviving, this is perfect. And, he added, softer this time, you have proven that you are someone I can trust. More than most, even. Evelyn's cheeks burned. Trust, from him. This is dangerous, thrilling, and maybe the start of something I didn't expect. She forced a playful smile. Then perhaps, I am not just a villainess to be pitied anymore. Adrian's eyes softened, and for a brief, suspended moment, they were just two people in the quiet library. No rumors, no challenges, just understanding. Chapter 19. A Masked Ball. The palace had been transformed overnight. Glittering chandeliers reflected off polished marble floors, golden candelabras lined the hallways, and the scent of fresh flowers mingled with the sweet aroma of candles. Tonight, the court would host a masked ball, a perfect blend of elegance, secrecy, and mischief. Evelyn Grace stood before her mirror, adjusting the delicate mask covering her eyes. Her gown shimmered in shades of silver and midnight blue, the layers of fabric rustling softly as she moved. Anna hovered nearby, nervously fanning herself. My lady, are you certain about this disguise? Evelyn smirked. Of course. A little mystery never hurt anyone. And besides, if I play my cards right, I might confuse Clarissa, and maybe even intrigue the Duke. Anna groaned. Or get yourself kidnapped. Just a thought. The ballroom was alive with music and laughter. Guests twirled in colorful masks, and whispers of curiosity swept through the crowd. Evelyn glided in, careful to remain composed, though her heart pounded with excitement and nerves. From across the room, she spotted him, Duke Adrian, masked as well, his dark attire making him appear even more commanding. His eyes scanned the crowd, finally landing on hers. Oh no, he found me immediately. Adrian's lips curved in the faintest smile. He crossed the floor with a predator's grace, stopping before her. You've chosen, wisely, he murmured, his eyes flicking over her mask. Evelyn lifted her chin, feigning confidence. And you seem exactly as intimidating as I imagined. Though perhaps slightly more handsome. His eyebrow twitched, but the corner of his mouth hinted at amusement. Flattery in a mask. Bold. Dangerous. As they danced, Evelyn realized the magic of anonymity was intoxicating. She could tease, joke, and act with a freedom the court usually denied her. You seem unusually relaxed, Adrian observed, twirling her smoothly. I have nothing to lose, she quipped. Except my reputation, and perhaps my balance. He laughed softly, a rare, low sound that made her pulse flutter. Careful. I may find that endearing. But the night was not without danger. A masked figure approached, whispering subtly to a group of nobles, clearly attempting to spread a scandalous rumor about Evelyn's supposed favoritism with the Duke. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. With a flick of her wrist and a playful bow, she intercepted the gossip, turning it into an amusing anecdote that had the nobles laughing, though no one realized it was her clever manipulation. Survive. Charm. Confuse. Flourish. Evelyn grinned inwardly. As the evening drew on, the Duke led her to a balcony overlooking the moonlit gardens. The city lights twinkled in the distance. You handle intrigue remarkably well, he said quietly, his voice soft but commanding. Evelyn tilted her head, cheeks warm. I do what I must. And you seem far too observant. He took a step closer. Perhaps. But it is rare to find someone clever, daring, and unafraid of me. Her heart raced. Unafraid, daring, clever, oh no, my feelings are dangerously aligned with my plan. Then perhaps. I am exactly the kind of trouble you deserve, she teased. Adrian's gaze held hers, sharp but curious. Or perhaps. I am exactly the kind of challenge you need. For a moment, the world narrowed to just them, masked, mysterious, and entangled in a dance of wit, charm, and desire. Chapter 20. Secrets in the Garden. The moon hung low and silver over the palace gardens, casting long shadows among the hedges and fountains. Evelyn Grace wandered along the stone paths, her mask from the ball still in hand. The night air was crisp, scented faintly with roses, and the world felt quieter than the palace halls. The Duke invited me here. Alone. What could possibly happen? Anna's earlier warnings echoed in her mind, but Evelyn's curiosity and thrill overrode caution. If I survive this, I might just deserve a medal. Adrian appeared from behind a marble fountain, tall and imposing, yet softened by the moonlight. His mask was gone, revealing his sharp, handsome features. You came, he said simply. His voice was calm, yet carried an undercurrent of something personal. I did, Evelyn replied, bowing slightly. Though I suspect, there's a reason beyond moonlight and scenery. He studied her, grey eyes lingering on hers. Perhaps. Or perhaps I wanted to speak without the eyes of the court watching, without masks hiding intentions. Evelyn's pulse quickened. So, he trusts me enough for honesty. That's new. They walked slowly along the garden path. Adrian's gaze seemed distant, yet focused, as if recalling something long buried. You wonder about me, he said finally, his voice low, almost hesitant. About why I am the way I am. Cold, distant, calculated. Evelyn tilted her head. And why? Adrian hesitated, then continued. Expectations. Power. Betrayal. The court does not forgive weakness. I have learned to shield myself. To observe. To anticipate. To survive. Evelyn's chest tightened. Survival, that word again. Like me. But different. And yet, he said, glancing at her, you survive differently. Boldly. Fearlessly. Cleverly. It's unsettling. She smiled faintly, trying to hide the warmth creeping into her cheeks. I try. I've learned a thing or two from life before this one. And I refuse to die a tragic death like Evelyn Grace in the novel. He paused, watching her. I believe you. Evelyn's heart skipped. He believes me. Already. They reached a quiet fountain at the center of the garden. The water glimmered under the moonlight, reflecting the two of them as if in a private world. Adrian leaned closer, his voice softer now. You intrigue me, Evelyn. Not just because of your cleverness, but because I sense honesty, vulnerability, strength. Evelyn swallowed, her throat dry. I try to survive. But sometimes, I wonder if surviving alone is enough. Perhaps I want something more. His gaze softened, and for a fleeting moment, The hard exterior of the Duke seemed to melt away. Perhaps you deserve more than mere survival. Perhaps you deserve someone who sees all of you. And his eyes held hers, grey and unreadable yet intense, I am beginning to want that for you. Evelyn's cheeks burned. Her pulse raced. Did he just want me? She forced a small, teasing smile. Careful, Your Grace. If you're not careful, you might find yourself too invested. He smirked faintly, just enough to make her heart flutter. And if I am? Then, she whispered, you'd better be ready for a challenge. Chapter 21. The Rival Strikes Back. The morning sunlight filtered through Evelyn Grace's curtains, but it did little to ease the tension coiling in her stomach. A servant rushed into her room, holding a letter sealed with crimson wax. My lady, this just arrived. It seems urgent. Evelyn took the letter, breaking the seal with nimble fingers. Her eyes scanned the words, and she froze. Lady Evelyn Grace, your presence at the Duke's private meeting today is requested. Attend, or face the consequences of ignoring the court's summons. Clarissa. Her heart skipped. Clarissa, she's escalating. Anna peeked in nervously. My lady, this doesn't sound friendly. Evelyn smirked faintly. Friendly is not in her vocabulary, Anna. But that's fine. I can play this game. By midday, Evelyn made her way to the Duke's study. The corridors seemed unusually quiet, the palace holding its breath. As she entered, she noticed Adrian already there, his expression unreadable. You received it, he said, grey eyes sharp as ever. Yes, Evelyn replied smoothly. And I intend to survive it, without scandal, of course. Adrian studied her, then gave a faint nod. Good. Because Clarissa has made her move, and it's complicated. You will need to act carefully. Evelyn tilted her head. Complicated? That sounds like my specialty. He smirked faintly, clearly amused. Indeed. Follow my lead, but be ready to think quickly. The meeting turned out to be a private assembly orchestrated by Clarissa, with several nobles present who were eager to witness Evelyn's supposed humiliation. The plan was clear: make her appear deceitful or incompetent in front of the Duke. Evelyn's pulse quickened, but she didn't panic. Instead, she relied on wit, charm, and the subtle cues Adrian had taught her. She spoke carefully, answered questions with confidence, and even redirected a few veiled insults back toward Clarissa without revealing her hand. By the end of the assembly, Evelyn had not only survived but subtly impressed several nobles who had initially been skeptical. She had turned a trap into an opportunity. After the assembly, Adrian escorted her through the garden, his gaze softening. You handled that remarkably well. Evelyn's lips curved in a teasing smile. I told you, Your Grace. Survival is my specialty. And charming you, my motivation. His eyes narrowed slightly, though the corner of his mouth lifted in amusement. Indeed. But remember, surviving the court is one thing. Surviving me is another challenge entirely. Her cheeks flushed. I welcome the challenge. For a moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them, Evelyn, clever and daring, and Adrian, protective yet intrigued. The tension was thrilling, dangerous, and undeniably intoxicating. That evening, as Evelyn returned to her room, Anna looked at her with awe. My lady, you did it. You survived, and impressed the Duke. Evelyn smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Yes, and I learned something important today. Even in a world full of rivals, schemes, and danger, sometimes, the best allies are the ones standing right beside you. Anna raised an eyebrow. You mean, the Duke? Evelyn chuckled softly. Yes, Anna. The Duke. And somewhere in the quiet of the palace, two hearts beat faster, both aware that the games of survival, love, and intrigue had only just begun. Chapter 22. Confessions Under the Moon. The palace was quiet, bathed in silver moonlight that filtered through the high windows. Evelyn Grace stood on the balcony, her fingers lightly gripping the railing, eyes tracing the twinkling lights of the gardens below. The Duke, his unpredictable, protective, and fascinating. How does one survive and navigate feelings like this? Anna's gentle voice echoed from the doorway. "My lady, the Duke is waiting in the garden," he said. "It's important." Evelyn straightened, smoothing her gown. "Important, HM? That sounds promising. Or terrifying. Perhaps both." The garden was awash in moonlight, the fountains casting ripples of silver across the marble paths. Adrian stood beneath the largest fountain, hands clasped behind his back, eyes shadowed but focused on her. "You came," he said, his voice soft but firm. "I did," she replied, stepping closer. "Though I can't help but wonder, how important is this meeting?" Adrian's gaze softened. "Important enough to speak honestly. To tell the truth, without the court watching. Without schemes. Without masks." Evelyn's pulse quickened. No masks, honest words, this could be dangerous. He gestured for her to walk beside him along the garden path. "Evelyn, I've watched you survive, charm, and navigate the court with intelligence and courage. But I've also seen something more. Vulnerability, strength, fear, and determination. You are unlike anyone I've met." Evelyn swallowed, her cheeks warm. "You think so?" "Yes," he said simply. "And I find myself compelled to protect you. Not because of obligation, not because of your status, but because of you." Her breath caught. "Compelled to protect me, because of me? I never expected someone like you to notice someone like me," she whispered, unsure whether to be nervous, excited, or both. Adrian stopped walking, his grey eyes locking onto hers. "Notice you. Evelyn. I see you. The real you. And perhaps, I want more than observation. I want understanding. Trust. Perhaps even," his voice dropped, soft but clear, "perhaps even something like affection." Evelyn's heart raced, her pulse echoing in her ears. "Affection, for me?" She smiled faintly, teasing despite the flutter in her chest. "Careful, Your Grace. I might just expect the same from you." Adrian's lips twitched, a rare, small smile. "Then perhaps, I will meet your expectations. But only if you are ready for a challenge. Affection in the palace can be as dangerous as the court itself." Evelyn laughed softly, her nervousness mingling with excitement. "I live for challenges. And I suppose this one is worth taking." The moonlight bathed them both as they walked in silence, the world around them fading into the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant fountain's song. For the first time, Evelyn Grace felt truly seen, not as a villainess, not as a target, not as a survivor, but as herself. Adrian's hand brushed lightly against hers, deliberate yet tender. "Trust me, Evelyn," he whispered. She looked up, heart pounding. "I do. Your Grace." And under the moonlight, in a garden of shadows and secrets, two hearts drew closer, ready to face danger, intrigue, and perhaps love, together. Chapter 23. The Poisoned Gift. The morning sun painted the palace halls in soft gold, but Evelyn Grace felt anything but calm. A delicate package had been delivered to her chambers, wrapped in silver paper and tied with a crimson ribbon. Anna's eyes widened in alarm. "My lady, that gift. I have a bad feeling about it." Evelyn studied the package, her mind racing. "Clarissa. It has to be her. But how dangerous could it really be?" She carefully unwrapped the gift, revealing a box of the finest chocolates she had ever seen. The smell was intoxicating, rich and sweet. But instinctively, she noticed something, a faint, metallic scent that didn't belong. "Poison." Anna gasped. "My lady. Don't." Evelyn waved her off, eyes sharp. "Stay calm, Anna. This is exactly why I survive, cleverness and caution. Step 1, do not eat it. Step 2, investigate." Evelyn carefully set the chocolates aside and summoned a trusted palace apothecary. After discreet testing, the verdict was confirmed. The gift was laced with a slow-acting toxin. Classic Clarissa. Bold, cruel, and now, desperate. Evelyn's lips curved into a sly grin. "Well, Clarissa, you almost succeeded. But not today." She quickly wrote a note to Duke Adrian, explaining the situation without revealing her exact plan. Minutes later, he arrived, eyes dark with concern. "You received a poisoned gift?" he asked, voice low but sharp. "Yes," she said calmly, though her pulse raced. "I suspected it immediately. I need your help to ensure Clarissa doesn't escalate further." Adrian stepped closer, protective instinct flaring. "I will not let her harm you. You have my word." Evelyn's heart fluttered. Protective, again, him noticing. "Thank you, Your Grace. But I want to play this cleverly. Survival requires strategy, not just brute force." He nodded, clearly impressed. "Very well. But I will be close. I will not allow you to be alone in this." Together, they devised a plan. Adrian would subtly alert the court to Clarissa's schemes, while Evelyn would redirect attention to make the attempt appear accidental rather than deliberate. Their cooperation was seamless, her wit paired with his influence, a combination that left both enemies and allies watching in awe. By evening, the danger had passed, and Evelyn held the poisoned chocolate box in her hands, now harmless but still a reminder of how deadly court rivalries could be. Adrian stood beside her, his grey eyes softening as he studied her. "You handled that brilliantly. Clever, composed, and alive." Evelyn smiled faintly, teasing, though her cheeks burned. "Alive, thanks to me. Brilliant, thanks to you." He chuckled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Together, perhaps. But remember, the court is far from safe. You will need to stay vigilant." She nodded, heart pounding. "Vigilant, yes, and perhaps more in tune with the Duke than I expected." As they walked back to the palace, side by side under the moonlight, Evelyn realized something thrilling. Surviving wasn't just about cleverness anymore. It was about trust, alliance, and a dangerously enticing connection with Adrian. Chapter 24, The Masquerade of Secrets. The palace glittered in the soft glow of hundreds of candles, casting shimmering reflections across gilded walls and polished floors. Tonight, the nobles gathered for a grand masquerade, where masks concealed intentions, and every smile might hide ambition or betrayal. Evelyn Grace adjusted her gown and mask in the mirror, her reflection both elegant and mysterious. Midnight blue silk hugged her figure, while silver embroidery caught the light with every movement. Anna hovered nervously. "My lady, another masquerade. Are you sure this is wise?" Evelyn smirked. "Wisdom is overrated. Cleverness and charm are far more entertaining. Besides, a little mystery never hurt anyone. And it might amuse the Duke." Anna groaned. "Or get us both into trouble." Upon entering the ballroom, Evelyn marveled at the sea of masked faces. Laughter, music, and hushed whispers filled the space. The anonymity of masks offered her freedom. She could maneuver through danger, charm admirers, and even mislead enemies. From across the room, she spotted Duke Adrian. His mask accentuated his sharp features, his dark attire giving him an air of quiet authority. The moment their eyes met, a spark of recognition and mischief passed between them. There he is, so calm, so commanding, yet his eyes always notice me. As they moved through the crowd, Evelyn intercepted whispers of a scandalous rumor about Clarissa plotting against her again. Smiling faintly, she decided to turn the tables. With subtle gestures and carefully chosen words, she redirected the court's attention, turning Clarissa's whispers into amusement rather than danger. Courtiers laughed at the playful misunderstanding, completely unaware that Evelyn had orchestrated it. Charm, wit, survive, and confuse rivals. Step 3 complete. Finally, Adrian approached her beneath a balcony overlooking the gardens, moonlight spilling across the marble floor. "You handled the masquerade remarkably well," he said quietly, his grey eyes intense under the mask. Evelyn curtsied lightly. "It's amazing what freedom a mask can provide. And, of course, I had a clever partner observing." Adrian's lips curved into a faint, rare smile. "Perhaps. But it is your cleverness that impressed me. And," he leaned closer, lowering his voice, "your boldness. Unafraid in a world where most tremble." Her cheeks flushed. Unafraid, bold, him noticing, again. "I try," she whispered. "Though surviving a masquerade is easier with someone you can trust nearby." He extended his hand, brushing against hers. Then trust me, Evelyn. I will be there. She accepted the gesture, the warmth of his hand sending a thrill through her. This is different. This is dangerous and exhilarating. As they watched the court below, Evelyn realized something thrilling. Surviving the palace was no longer just a game. With Adrian by her side, and her own cleverness, she could navigate intrigue, charm, rivals, and perhaps, something far more intoxicating, love. Chapter 25. Shadows of Betrayal. The palace corridors felt colder that night, though the braziers still burned brightly. Evelyn Grace walked with Anna at her side, her mind restless. The masquerade had been a success, but the laughter of nobles still echoed in her ears, tinged with suspicion. "Something's wrong," Evelyn whispered as they entered her chambers. "The air feels heavy." Anna blinked nervously. "My lady, you're frightening me." Evelyn set her mask down, her sharp eyes scanning the room. That's when she noticed it, a folded note tucked into her vanity mirror. She opened it slowly, reading the words scrawled in hurried ink. "The Duke is not who you think. Trust him too much, and you'll share the same fate as the last woman who loved him." Her heart jolted. The last woman. What do they mean? The following day, Evelyn couldn't stop replaying the note in her head. At breakfast, Adrian sat across from her, as calm and collected as ever. His gaze flicked to her face, noticing her distracted expression. "You seem troubled," he said smoothly, sipping his tea. Evelyn forced a smile. "Just tired." His eyes lingered a moment too long, as though he could see past her mask. He notices too much. Later, while wandering the library for clues about palace history, Evelyn overheard hushed voices. "Did you hear? The Duke's fiancée years ago, she vanished. They say she discovered something she shouldn't have." Evelyn froze, her pulse quickening. Vanished. Could this be the betrayal the note hinted at? She wanted to dismiss it as gossip, but the note's warning echoed in her mind. That night, she met Adrian in the gardens once again. His grey eyes softened when he saw her, but she couldn't ignore the knot in her stomach. "Evelyn," he said quietly, "you've been distant. Did something happen?" Her lips parted, but the words caught. "Do I tell him? Do I trust him, or do I protect myself?" Finally, she forced a teasing smile. "Perhaps I'm just overwhelmed by how persistent you are, Your Grace." He smirked faintly, though his gaze lingered. Persistent, or protective? But as his hand brushed hers under the moonlight, Evelyn's thoughts raced. If the shadows of betrayal are real, I must uncover the truth before it swallows me whole. And for the first time, Evelyn wondered if her greatest danger wasn't Clarissa, but the secret surrounding the man she was falling for. Chapter 26. Whispers of the Past. The following morning, Evelyn excused herself from the usual social calls, claiming she felt unwell. Anna frowned with concern but didn't press the issue. The truth was, Evelyn needed solitude, not to rest, but to investigate. She slipped into the palace's grand library, where ancient tomes and records stretched high along the walls. Dust clung to forgotten volumes, but Evelyn's determination burned brighter than the candle she carried. If the Duke had a vanished fiancé, there must be something recorded. She began pulling out family registers, noble alliances, and even scandal sheets tucked away in discreet corners. Hours passed before she finally stumbled upon a brittle journal belonging to a palace chronicler. Her eyes widened as she read. Lady Seraphina Vaymont, betrothed to Duke Adrian Blackthorn. Known for her wit and kindness. One winter's night, she disappeared without a trace. Whispers suggest foul play, but no culprit was ever named. The Duke has since refused to take another bride. Evelyn's fingers trembled. So it's true, he had someone before me. And she vanished. The sound of footsteps echoed behind her. Evelyn quickly shut the book and turned, her heart leaping. "Evelyn," Adrian's deep voice rumbled as he stepped into the light. His grey eyes locked on hers, sharp but unreadable. "You spend more time here than most scholars." She laughed nervously, clasping her hands behind her back. "Books never betray you, Your Grace." His gaze lingered, searching. "And yet you look as though you've read something that unsettled you." Evelyn forced a smile, her mind racing. I can't ask him, not yet. I need more proof before I confront him. I just got lost in old stories, she said softly. Adrian tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, he stepped closer and leaned down, his voice low. Be careful with stories, Evelyn. Some are better left buried. Her breath caught. For a heartbeat, it felt as though he knew exactly what she had been searching for. That night, Evelyn tossed and turned in her bed, her thoughts consumed by Serafina's name. Vanished without a trace, she whispered into the dark. If I'm not careful, that could be me. But then she smirked faintly, determination sparking in her chest. No, not this time. I'll write my own ending. Somewhere beyond the palace walls, a raven cawed, as if echoing her vow. Chapter 27. The Duke's Secret. Days passed, but the weight of Serafina's name clung to Evelyn's thoughts like a shadow. She smiled at courtiers, laughed at Anna's chatter, and even teased Adrian at dinners. But beneath the surface, questions gnawed at her. Who was Serafina to him? Why had she vanished? And why did Adrian look at her sometimes, as if she reminded him of a ghost? One evening, Evelyn found herself once again in the gardens. Adrian was there, leaning against the marble railing, moonlight spilling across his dark hair and broad shoulders. You're avoiding me, he said without preamble, his voice low but firm. Evelyn froze, then forced a playful grin. Avoiding? Hardly. I'm simply busy being admired by everyone else. His lips twitched at her audacity, but his gaze remained serious. Evelyn, do not lie to me. Her heart pounded. He stepped closer, and she could see the faint tension in his jaw, the weight of unspoken words. Tell me, Adrian pressed, his grey eyes sharp. What are you searching for in the library? Evelyn's breath caught. So he noticed after all. For a moment, she considered telling him everything. The note, the whispers, the fear clawing at her. But instinct screamed to be cautious. Instead, she tilted her head and gave a coy smile. Perhaps I was just curious about the Duke's past. Shouldn't a lady know the man she stopped, biting her lip before she could say destined to die by. Adrian's expression darkened. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. There are things in my past that would frighten you, Evelyn. Things you are better not knowing. Her chest tightened. And what if I want to know them anyway? He looked at her then, not as the intimidating Duke, but as a man burdened by secrets. For the first time, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. You remind me of her, Adrian said finally. Serafina. The name made Evelyn's pulse jolt. She masked her reaction with a faint laugh. Should I be jealous, Your Grace? Adrian's gaze softened, but his voice was heavy. No, because jealousy implies she's still here to rival you. Evelyn forced a smile, but her hands curled into fists at her side. So it's true. She existed. She mattered. And she disappeared. That night, long after Adrian had left, Evelyn stood before her mirror, her reflection pale but determined. If Serafina vanished without a trace, I need to know why, she whispered. If I don't, I'll be the next name in his shadow. And so she resolved, she would dig deeper into the Duke's secret. Even if it meant venturing into places she was forbidden to go. Chapter 28. Forbidden Chambers. The moon hung high over Blackthorn Estate, casting silver light across its towering walls. Most of the servants were asleep, and the corridors lay silent. Evelyn, however, was far from sleep. Clutching a lantern, she slipped quietly through the halls, Anna's whispered protests echoing in her mind. My lady, if the Duke catches you wandering at night. But Evelyn silenced her with a wink. Then I'll charm him into forgiving me. Now, as she padded down a long hallway lined with ancient portraits, her heart thudded against her ribs. She had overheard maids mention a wing of the estate that no one dared enter, the old West Wing. Rumors whispered it was haunted. Evelyn had a different suspicion, that it held the Duke's buried truths. She reached a heavy oak door, locked and dustcoat. But Evelyn had come prepared. With a stolen hairpin, she fumbled at the lock, muttering under her breath. Villainess skills, don't fail me now. Click. The door creaked open. Inside, the air was thick with disuse. Cobwebs clung to furniture draped in sheets, and the scent of old wood filled her nose. She raised her lantern higher, the shadows stretching across the forgotten chamber. On a desk in the corner lay a box, small, ornate, with the Blackthorn crest etched into its lid. Evelyn's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside were letters. Faded ribbons bound them together, the ink smudged by age but still legible. My dearest Adrian, though the court watches us with envy, I fear danger lingers near. There are whispers that someone wishes me gone. Evelyn's eyes widened. The signature at the bottom was clear. Serafina Vaymont. Her breath caught. The vanished fiancé, she had left behind letters. And she knew someone wanted her dead. A sudden creak made Evelyn whirl around. The lantern flickered, casting jagged shadows. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice trembling. No answer. Only silence. She swallowed, shoving the letters into her cloak. But as she turned to leave, the hairs on her neck rose. She wasn't alone in this chamber. Before she could flee, the door slammed shut with a force that rattled the walls. Evelyn gasped, whipping toward it. And then, Adrian's silhouette emerged from the darkness. His eyes glinted, unreadable. "Evelyn," his voice was dangerously low, every syllable like velvet steel. "What do you think you're doing here?" Her heart thundered. The letters burned like fire against her chest. "I've been caught." Chapter 29. The Confrontation. The heavy silence pressed down on Evelyn as Adrian stepped fully into the room, his presence filling the space like a storm cloud. The flickering lantern light carved sharp lines across his face, his grey eyes locked onto hers with icy precision. "I'll ask once more," he said, his tone measured, dangerous. "What are you doing in this wing?" Evelyn swallowed hard, forcing her trembling hands behind her back. "Think, Evelyn. You can't let him know about the letters. Not yet." "I couldn't sleep," she said lightly, tilting her head with a practiced smile. "I went for a walk and, well, curiosity got the better of me. I heard this part of the estate was haunted." Adrian's brow arched, but his expression remained unreadable. "Haunted?" His voice dropped lower, skeptical. "And you came here alone, at night?" She shrugged, feigning nonchalance. What better way to face ghosts than with a lantern and reckless courage? For a long moment, his gaze bore into hers, as though peeling back the layers of her mask. Evelyn's pulse thundered in her ears. She wondered if he could hear it. Finally, Adrian stepped closer, close enough that the air around her thickened with his presence. He leaned down, his face inches from hers. "Do not play games with me, Evelyn," he murmured, his voice a dangerous caress. "If you seek the past, you may not like what you find." Her throat tightened, but she forced herself to meet his eyes. "Maybe I'd rather know the truth than live in ignorance." Something flickered in his gaze. Pain, regret, maybe even guilt. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. Adrian straightened, his tone clipped. "This wing is off limits for a reason. You will not come here again." It wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. As he turned to leave, Evelyn's hand instinctively pressed against her cloak where the letters lay hidden. Relief and dread swirled together in her chest. He didn't notice. But he suspects. And if he discovers I have Serafina's letters? She exhaled shakily, her smile fading the moment he disappeared through the door. "I have to be careful," she whispered into the shadows. "But I won't stop. Whatever happened to Serafina, I need to know, before it happens to me." The letters felt heavy against her heart, like a secret weapon, and a curse. Chapter 30. Secrets in the Letters. Evelyn waited until the household was asleep. The corridors were silent, the flickering candlelight casting long shadows across her chamber. Carefully, she retrieved Serafina's letters from her cloak, spreading them across the desk. Every word could hold the key, or the danger. Her fingers trembled as she untied the first ribbon and unfolded the yellowed parchment. "The Duke is not unkind, but his family, the court, they will not allow happiness. I fear for my life, even as I am bound to him. If anything happens to me, know that the ones closest may be the most dangerous." Evelyn's breath caught. Closest. Dangerous. The words hinted at betrayal from within the palace itself. She read the next letter. I have discovered who wishes me harm. Do not trust Lady Clarissa. Her beauty hides envy and malice. Watch carefully, for the path to survival is hidden in plain sight. Adrian must never know I suspected it, or we are both doomed. Evelyn's mind raced. Clarissa was dangerous, but was she the only threat? The letters suggested someone else had wanted Serafina dead, someone close to Adrian. This changes everything. As she read the third letter, a chill ran down her spine. If Adrian were ever to find these words, he would see only betrayal where none exists. Trust must be earned, carefully. I fear my time is short, and the night holds more than shadows. I pray Evelyn Grace, or anyone who reads these, can survive where I could not. Evelyn's heart thundered. Serafina. She wrote these for someone to find them. For a reason. And I'm the one she chose. Her mind spun with possibilities. Who was the secret enemy? Could it be someone within the Duke's family? A courtier? Clarissa's allies? And most dangerously, could it be Adrian's own kin? A soft knock at the door startled her. She quickly stacked the letters, hiding them beneath her desk. My lady. Anna whispered, her voice tense. I thought I heard movement. Evelyn forced a calm smile. It's nothing, Anna. Just adjusting my papers. Go back to sleep. As the servant's footsteps faded, Evelyn leaned back, her gaze fixed on the ceiling. I now know 3 things. 1. Serafina feared for her life. 2. The threat is closer than anyone suspects. And 3. If I'm going to survive, I have to be smarter than everyone. Smarter than even the Duke. A determined smile curved her lips. Let the court try to trap me. Let Clarissa scheme. I will uncover the truth, survive, and perhaps even protect the Duke from the shadows that he does not yet see. Chapter 31. The Duke's Suspicion. The following morning, the palace was alive with chatter, clinking teacups, and rustling silk. Evelyn Grace moved gracefully through the hallways, her smile bright and perfectly polite, but her mind was a whirlwind of secrets, letters, and unanswered questions. Adrian suspects something. I can feel it. Adrian appeared suddenly in the library, his presence commanding, almost magnetic. His grey eyes narrowed slightly as they fell on her. Evelyn, he said, his voice calm but edged with suspicion, you've been unusually preoccupied lately. Evelyn blinked innocently. Preoccupied? Oh, I'm sure it's just palace affairs. Nothing to trouble the Duke's mind. He stepped closer, his gaze sharp. You worry too little about appearances, or perhaps too much about hiding things. Evelyn's pulse quickened. He's noticed the letters. He suspects. But if I admit, it could change everything. Your Grace, she said lightly, tilting her head with a teasing smile. Do you suspect me of something? Adrian's lips curved faintly, a dangerous hint of a smile. Perhaps. Or perhaps I simply know the type of cleverness that resides in your mind, Evelyn. And I am trying to determine whether it is applied to survival or deception. Evelyn forced a laugh, hiding the tension coiling in her chest. Cleverness and survival are practically the same thing, aren't they? Adrian studied her silently, grey eyes unblinking. For a heartbeat, Evelyn felt exposed under his gaze, as though he could read her every thought. Finally, he leaned closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. If you are hiding something, Evelyn, I advise caution. The palace thrives on secrets, but I will not allow anyone to endanger you, or me, through ignorance or malice. Evelyn's heart fluttered. Protective and suspicious. The combination was dangerous and exhilarating. I understand, Your Grace, she said, her voice steady despite the racing of her pulse. I assure you, nothing you need to worry about. He nodded slowly, though his eyes lingered on hers. See that I do not regret trusting you. As Adrian departed, Evelyn let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She sank into a nearby chair, her mind racing. He's clever, observant, protective, and now suspicious. I have to be even smarter. If he discovers Serafina's letters before I'm ready, it could change everything. Her hands tightened around the hidden bundle of letters. I will survive, and I will uncover the truth. No matter. Chapter 32, The Rival's Scheme. The morning sun peeked through the palace windows, glinting off the golden fixtures in the grand hall. Evelyn Grace moved gracefully among the courtiers, her smile serene, her laughter light, but her mind was racing. Clarissa is plotting. I can feel it. In the far corner of the ballroom, Clarissa leaned close to her allies, whispering with venomous glee. She's clever, yes, but every villain has a weakness. Tonight, at the evening banquet, I will expose her. The Duke will see her for what she really is. Evelyn, though unaware of the exact plan, had heard enough to sense danger. Tonight, I need a plan of my own. She spent the day preparing, consulting with Anna and her allies in secret. Every smile, every gesture, every word had to serve two purposes: charm the Duke and survive Clarissa's machinations. That evening, the banquet hall was alive with music, laughter, and the scent of roasted meats and delicate pastries. Evelyn entered with her usual poise, catching Adrian's eye across the room. He gave her a subtle nod, an unspoken promise of support. As the evening progressed, Clarissa's scheme began. Subtle accusations, veiled insults, and whispered rumors aimed to unsettle Evelyn in front of the court. But Evelyn was ready. With careful words, a tilt of her head, and a glint of mischief in her eyes, she turned Clarissa's attacks into humor, making nobles laugh and leaving Clarissa red-faced and frustrated. Step 1. Survive. Step 2. Charm. Step 3. Reveal my cleverness without a hint of malice. After the banquet, Adrian approached her quietly in the garden, where the moonlight reflected off the fountains. You handled her well tonight, he murmured, grey eyes softening. Most would have faltered under her attacks. Evelyn shrugged lightly, smiling. I simply turned her venom into laughter. It's an art form. He chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You are clever, Evelyn. Too clever. Be careful, even I can't protect you from every danger. Her pulse quickened. Protective, again. She tilted her head with a teasing smile. Then perhaps I must be clever enough to protect myself, and you. Adrian's expression darkened slightly, a mix of amusement and warning in his gaze. Do not underestimate Clarissa. She is dangerous, and her ambition knows no bounds. Evelyn's smile became more determined. Neither do I. As she returned to her chambers, Evelyn knew one thing. Surviving the court required charm, wit, and courage, and tonight, she had proven all three. But somewhere in the shadows, Clarissa's eyes burned with fury, plotting her next move. Chapter 33. Secrets Revealed. The morning light filtered softly through Evelyn's chamber, but her mind was far from peaceful. Clarissa's failed attempt at the banquet only made her more dangerous, and Evelyn knew that every move she made from now on would be watched. Anna entered quietly, holding a folded note with a look of apprehension. My lady, this was slipped under your door just now, she whispered. Evelyn took the note carefully, unfolding it. The handwriting was unmistakable. Clarissa. Clever Evelyn. You think you've outwitted me. But the court is full of eyes, and not all are friendly. Watch the shadows closely, even allies may betray you. Z. Evelyn's lips curved into a sly smile. Even allies may betray me. How intriguing. Determined to get ahead of the plot, she spent the day questioning servants, observing courtiers, and reading through palace documents. Pieces of information fell into place. A nobleman long trusted by the Duke was rumored to have ambitions of his own, subtly supporting Clarissa's schemes while pretending to be loyal. So Clarissa isn't acting alone. Someone close to Adrian is helping her. That evening, Evelyn decided to test her theories. She invited the suspected nobleman to a private audience under the guise of discussing a minor court affair. With careful words, subtle hints, and a smile full of innocence and charm, she probed him. The nobleman shifted uncomfortably, unaware that Evelyn had already pieced together his involvement. You seem unusually concerned about my position, my lord, she said lightly, tilting her head. Are you perhaps overestimating your influence? He paled, stammering, I merely. Evelyn held up a hand, her smile unwavering. Careful. Secrets have a way of unraveling when underestimated. Later, Adrian found her in the garden, his grey eyes piercing as always. You've been busy, he remarked, his tone neutral but with a hint of suspicion. Evelyn met his gaze, holding it boldly. Merely ensuring the palace remains orderly, Your Grace. Someone must be clever enough to protect it from treachery. Adrian's eyes softened slightly, though the warning in his tone remained. And yourself. Protect yourself, Evelyn. Not everything can be managed with charm alone. Her heart fluttered at the concern in his voice. Protect myself. For him too. As Evelyn returned to her chamber that night, she reviewed the letters and notes she had collected, the threads of court intrigue and hidden danger weaving together. Clarissa, the nobleman, the whispers of betrayal. She pressed her fingers to her lips, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. I may be a villainess in the story I was born into, but I am clever, fearless, and unstoppable. If they want to play, I'll make sure I write the ending. Chapter 34, The Duke's Warning. The moon hung high, bathing the Duke's study in pale silver light. Evelyn stood by the tall windows, her hands resting lightly on the polished wood frame. She had been summoned late in the evening, and though her heart beat faster than she liked, she kept her expression calm. Adrian entered moments later, his dark cloak sweeping behind him. His eyes, sharp as steel, locked onto her. You've been prying into matters that could cost you your life, he said flatly. Evelyn tilted her head, a playful smile curving her lips. Oh, and here I thought I was being quite subtle. Subtle. His tone hardened. He moved closer, until the faint scent of leather and smoke surrounded her. Do you know what Clarissa is capable of? Do you know how many people she's already ensnared? You are walking into fire, Evelyn. Her pulse quickened, but she refused to back down. Instead, she leaned casually against the window frame, meeting his intense gaze. Fire can burn, she said softly, but it can also light the way. Besides, her voice dropped, almost teasing, I thought you trusted me. Adrian's jaw tightened, his eyes darkening with unreadable emotion. For a long moment, the silence between them was thick with tension. Finally, he spoke, his voice lower, almost dangerous. You are reckless. But, he paused, his hand brushing against hers on the windowsill, sending a shiver through her. You're not wrong. I do trust you. Evelyn blinked, startled by his honesty. Her lips parted, but no words came. Adrian's expression softened just slightly, though his tone remained serious. But if you continue like this, you'll draw every dagger toward you. And he broke off, turning away abruptly, his cloak swirling around him. You what? She pressed, her curiosity and heart leaping at his unfinished sentence. Adrian exhaled slowly, as though restraining himself. I cannot afford to lose you. The words struck her harder than any warning. Her chest tightened, her mind spinning. Was it protection? Affection? Something more? Evelyn's smile softened, her voice warm with both mischief and sincerity. Then you'll just have to keep me safe, won't you, Your Grace? Adrian turned back, his gaze locking with hers once more. A storm of emotions flickered in his eyes, frustration, protectiveness, and something deeper, something unspoken. Don't test me, Evelyn, he said finally, though his tone carried less warning and more longing. She chuckled lightly, masking her racing heartbeat. Oh, but testing you is far too fun. That night, as Evelyn returned to her chamber, she touched her chest, feeling the faint echo of his words. I cannot afford to lose you. Her lips curved into a slow smile. For the first time since awakening in this new life, she didn't just want to survive. She wanted to live. Chapter 35, A Dangerous Game. The palace had grown restless. Whispers filled the halls like smoke, curling into every ear and corner. Evelyn felt the weight of eyes on her everywhere she went. Servants, nobles, even guards lingered just a little too long. Clarissa had moved. Evelyn could sense it. At breakfast, a messenger brought an invitation sealed with delicate rose-colored wax. It was from Lady Clarissa herself. A private tea party. Evelyn muttered, turning the letter in her hand. How predictable. Anna paled. My lady, you can't go. Everyone knows she's plotting something. Evelyn smiled slyly, her blue eyes glinting with amusement. Exactly why I must go. The garden pavilion was stunning, draped in silks and perfumed with roses. Clarissa sat at the center like a queen, her flawless smile sharpened into a blade. Evelyn, darling, Clarissa purred as Evelyn arrived. How lovely you look. Marriage has given you quite the glow. Evelyn curtsied gracefully, hiding her smirk. Why thank you, Clarissa. Though some might say envy creates wrinkles. Clarissa's smile faltered ever so slightly before she leaned closer. Careful, Evelyn. You may think yourself clever, but clever women don't always live long. Evelyn sipped her tea calmly, unbothered. Then perhaps it's fortunate I'm not only clever, but lucky too. The noble women around them stifled giggles and gasps. Clarissa's composure cracked, just for a heartbeat, before she smoothed it over. By the time Evelyn left the pavilion, she knew one thing for certain. Clarissa wasn't just lashing out blindly. She was setting a trap. And Evelyn was determined to spring it on her own terms. That evening, Adrian entered her chamber without warning. His eyes swept over her, narrowing. You met with Clarissa, he said, voice dangerously low. Evelyn set her book aside, meeting his glare with a playful grin. Jealous, Your Grace. This isn't a game. His hands clenched at his sides. She wants you gone. Then let her try, Evelyn replied softly, rising to her feet. Because I am not so easy to get rid of. Adrian's stormy gaze lingered on her, conflicted, before he finally growled, You infuriate me. And yet, she whispered, stepping closer until their breaths mingled, you can't stay away. The silence between them burned hotter than any words could. Chapter 36. The Web Titans. The following days were a dance of tension and suspicion. Rumors spread faster than wildfire. Evelyn had bewitched the Duke, Evelyn was plotting to seize power, Evelyn had enemies in every corridor. She ignored most of it. But when Anna came running into her chamber pale and trembling, Evelyn knew something had shifted. My lady. Anna gasped. They've accused you of treason. Evelyn blinked. Treason. Anna nodded frantically. A letter was found, your handwriting, your seal, plotting with a foreign kingdom. It's a forgery, but the nobles are already whispering. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, her mind racing. So this is Clarissa's trap. That night, Adrian summoned her privately. The fury in his eyes was unlike anything she'd seen before. Tell me it isn't true, he demanded, throwing the forged letter onto the table between them. Evelyn picked it up, examining it with a cool gaze. Your Grace, she said calmly, if I wanted to betray you, don't you think I'd be smart enough not to leave such an obvious trail? Adrian's jaw tightened, but his eyes searched hers for answers. I don't know who I can trust anymore, he admitted, his voice raw. The court is divided. Even my allies hesitate. And yet, his gaze softened, almost vulnerable. I want to believe you. Evelyn stepped closer, her hand brushing against his sleeve. Then believe me. Because if I fall, Adrian, so do you. His breath caught at the way she used his name, her voice laced with both fire and tenderness. For a moment, the burden of Duke slipped from his shoulders, and he was simply a man staring at the woman who unsettled and captivated him all at once. Evelyn smirked, eyes gleaming. Clarissa thinks she's won. But she's underestimated me. Let's make her regret it. Adrian studied her, then slowly, for the first time, allowed a small smile to curve his lips. Very well. If this is war, then we fight together. Chapter 37. War of Shadows. The council chamber was silent, heavy with tension. Nobles filled the room, their jeweled sleeves brushing against polished oak, their whispers curling like smoke. The forged letter lay on the table, a poisonous seed planted to ruin Evelyn. Clarissa stood tall, her expression saintly as she bowed to the Duke. Your Grace, it pains me to say this, but for the safety of the realm, should not Lady Evelyn be investigated thoroughly? Gasps rippled through the chamber. Evelyn, seated calmly beside Adrian, smiled sweetly. Investigate me. By all means, she said lightly. But surely, such accusations must come with evidence. Not mere words, no matter how pretty. Clarissa's smile tightened, but she held her ground. Adrian's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Enough. Until I say otherwise, Evelyn Grace is under my protection. Anyone who dares accuse her without proof will answer to me. The silence was absolute. No one dared speak against him. Evelyn turned her head, hiding her smirk. So, Adrian, you've chosen your side. Later, in the quiet of the Duke's private study, Evelyn spread out the documents she had gathered. Clarissa isn't working alone. She has allies in the council. We need to flush them out. Adrian studied her with a mix of pride and exasperation. You speak as though you've done this before. She chuckled softly. Let's just say, survival requires strategy. He leaned closer, his voice low. And what do you want in return, Evelyn? Why risk everything? Her heart skipped, but she masked it with a playful smile. Simple. I don't want to die. But as their eyes locked, both of them knew there was more to it. Chapter 38, A Dance of Masks. A grand ball was announced within the week, an opportunity for nobles to mingle, gossip, and plot. For Evelyn, it was the perfect stage to test loyalties. She arrived draped in sapphire silk, her golden hair shining under the chandeliers. Murmurs followed her, half admiration, half suspicion. Clarissa, of course, glittered like a star in silver, her smile sharp as glass. As music swelled, Adrian appeared at Evelyn's side, offering his hand. Dance with me, he said, his tone leaving no room for refusal. She placed her hand in his, letting him lead her onto the floor. Whispers erupted around them. Duke Adrian, cold and untouchable, dancing with Evelyn Grace, the woman everyone claimed he should despise. Their steps moved in perfect harmony, his gaze locked on hers. They're watching us, he murmured. Then let's give them something to watch, she whispered back, her lips curving. He twirled her gracefully, pulling her close at the end, his hand lingering at her waist. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Clarissa's smile faltered. But Evelyn wasn't there only to make a scene. As the dance ended, she slipped away, weaving through the crowd. In the shadows of the balcony, she overheard hushed voices, nobles whispering about the plan and removing her before she gains more influence. Her suspicions were confirmed. Clarissa wasn't alone. The rot ran deep. Returning to the ballroom, Evelyn caught Adrian's watchful gaze. She smiled faintly, her heart pounding. If this is a game of masks, then I'll be the most dazzling mask of all. And Clarissa. She would choke on her own schemes. Chapter 39, The First Move. The morning sunlight streamed through Evelyn's chamber, painting her desk in gold. Letters, notes, and whispers of secrets were scattered across the surface. She smirked, fingers drumming lightly on the wood. Time to turn the tables. Anna entered, carrying tea. My lady, are you sure this is wise? Clarissa's reach. Evelyn waved a hand, smiling faintly. Wisdom is knowing when to strike, Anna. Courage is knowing when to play with fire. Tonight, we do both. Evelyn's plan was simple in theory. Expose Clarissa's allies, reveal their schemes subtly, and charm Adrian in a way that strengthens his trust while keeping him unaware of the letters. She sent discreet invitations to a private meeting with suspected nobles, arranging the time and place carefully. Each move was calculated, each word chosen to provoke slips without revealing her hand. By evening, she was ready. Draped in emerald silk that shimmered like a forest at dusk, she moved through the corridors with elegance and purpose. Adrian met her at the grand stairwell. You look dangerous tonight, he remarked, a flicker of amusement in his grey eyes. Evelyn smirked. I aim to survive. And to win. He studied her, tension in his jaw. Do not let your games go too far. Games, she whispered, brushing past him into the shadows. This is survival. Chapter 40, Unmasking the Allies. The secret chamber she had chosen was quiet, lit only by candlelight. Evelyn greeted the gathered nobles with a serene smile. They had come expecting subtle manipulation from Clarissa, but Evelyn was prepared. She began casually, posing questions and making observations that hinted at knowledge only an insider could have. One by one, her words drew reactions, fidgeting, nervous glances, and finally, confessions disguised as casual remarks. "Perhaps we've underestimated Lady Evelyn," one noble admitted, a forced laugh masking fear. Evelyn's smile was sweet, but her eyes glimmered with triumph. Underestimation is a dangerous mistake. She listened carefully, piecing together names, alliances, and schemes. Each confession added another thread to the tapestry of Clarissa's plot. By the end of the night, Evelyn held a mental map of the court's hidden dangers, a weapon more powerful than any sword. When she returned to her chambers, Adrian was waiting, leaning casually against the doorframe, his grey eyes sharp. "You've done more than survive tonight," he said quietly. "You've turned the court's own whispers into proof for us." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. And what if the Duke were to notice the effort? Adrian's lips curved slightly. "I have noticed. And I approve." Her pulse quickened. The dance between them, danger, trust, and something unspoken, was reaching a fever pitch. "Then let's continue," she said softly, before Clarissa realizes the game has turned. Chapter 41. Pressure on the Serpent. The palace corridors hummed with rumors. Nobles who once whispered against Evelyn now eyed her warily, uncertain. Evelyn walked gracefully among them, her chin lifted, a faint smile on her lips. Good, she thought. Doubt is the first step to crumbling loyalty. That afternoon, during court proceedings, Evelyn stepped forward with calm confidence. "My Duke," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber, "perhaps we should reconsider the loyalty of certain houses. Some of their correspondences raise questions." Gasps erupted. Several nobles stiffened in their seats. Evelyn had revealed nothing concrete, but the suggestion was enough to set suspicions ablaze. Clarissa's eyes flashed with fury, but she maintained her composure. Surely Lady Evelyn is mistaken. It would be unwise to accuse without proof. Adrian's gaze swept the room, cold and merciless. Unwise indeed. Which is why those loyal have nothing to fear. The chamber fell silent. Evelyn's smile widened ever so slightly. Clarissa's grip on her allies was weakening. Later, Clarissa stormed into her private chambers, shattering a porcelain vase in rage. "She dares challenge me in front of the Duke," she hissed. "Then I'll remind her of her place." Her maid trembled. "My lady, what will you do?" Clarissa's smile returned, sharp and venomous. "Strike at her heart. If she loves survival so much, let's see how she fares when survival means sacrifice." Chapter 42. Clarissa Strikes Back. The following evening, Evelyn was enjoying tea in her chambers when Anna burst in, pale and shaking. "My lady, someone tried to poison the kitchen's wine supply." Evelyn froze. "Poison?" Anna nodded frantically. "The servant said it was meant for the Duke's table. But if you had drunk from it." Evelyn's blood ran cold. Clarissa had grown desperate. Moments later, Adrian entered, his expression like thunder. He tossed a small vial of dark liquid onto Evelyn's table. "Poison," he said flatly. "And it was meant for you." Evelyn's lips curved into a bitter smile. So Clarissa grows impatient. Adrian's hand slammed against the table, startling her. His grey eyes burned with restrained fury. "This is not a game anymore, Evelyn. She wants you dead." Evelyn rose slowly, placing her hand over his clenched fist. Her touch softened the tension in him, even if only slightly. "Then let her try," she said quietly, her voice steel wrapped in silk. "Because I intend to live. And win." For a moment, Adrian stared at her, torn between rage and admiration. Finally, he exhaled, his shoulders relaxing. "You drive me mad," he muttered. "And yet," she teased softly, "you still stand beside me." Their eyes locked, the silence between them laced with fire neither could deny. Chapter 43. The Trap is Set. Evelyn sat at her desk, quill poised over parchment, her expression calm though her heart thudded with anticipation. Clarissa had gone too far. Poison was not a game, it was war. And Evelyn never entered a war without planning the victory first. "Anna," she said quietly, Send this letter to the council. Make sure it passes through 3 different hands before it reaches them. And whisper to the servants that I've been unwell since the banquet. Let it spread." Anna blinked nervously. "Unwell, my lady." Evelyn's smile was sharp. "Yes. Let them believe I've been weakened. Clarissa will think me vulnerable, and that's when she'll strike." That evening, Adrian found her in the garden, strolling beneath lanterns glowing like fireflies. His eyes narrowed. "You're baiting her." Evelyn looked up at him, her smile serene. "Of course. She thinks me fragile. Let her. The more she underestimates me, the harder she'll fall." He stepped closer, his hand brushing hers ever so slightly. "And if she doesn't take the bait?" Evelyn tilted her head, her eyes gleaming like starlight. "Then I'll simply invent another. Either way, she will be the one cornered." Adrian's lips curved in the faintest of smiles, pride and worry mixing in his gaze. "You are more dangerous than I imagined." "And you," Evelyn replied, her voice soft yet teasing, "are more tempting than I planned." The silence between them lingered, thick with something unspoken. Chapter 44. Caught in the web. Days passed, and the rumor of Evelyn's illness spread like wildfire. Courtiers whispered, servants fretted, and Clarissa watched with gleaming eyes. At last, the moment came. A tray of tea was delivered to Evelyn's chambers, too carefully, too suspiciously. Evelyn smirked. So she took the bait. She arranged for the tray to be mistakenly served to a noble supporter of Clarissa during a gathering. As expected, the man collapsed moments after sipping the cup, gasping for air. Panic erupted. Evelyn's calm voice cut through the chaos. "How strange. A poison, meant for me, found its way to another. Surely this is no coincidence." Gasps echoed. Clarissa's face paled, her composure slipping as every eye turned toward her. Adrian's voice thundered through the hall. "Enough. There will be an inquiry. Until then, Lady Clarissa is confined to her chambers." Clarissa stiffened, rage flashing in her eyes as guards moved to escort her away. Her gaze locked onto Evelyn, promising vengeance. Evelyn met it with a serene smile. Checkmate. That night, alone in her chamber, Evelyn stared out the window at the moonlit sky. Her hands trembled slightly. Despite her victory, she knew Clarissa would not give up so easily. But then she remembered Adrian's gaze in the council chamber, the way his voice had defended her without hesitation. For the first time, Evelyn whispered softly into the night, "Maybe I'm not fighting alone anymore." Chapter 45. Shadows behind bars. Though Clarissa was confined to her chambers, her influence had not vanished. Rumors continued to circulate, whispers of Evelyn's supposed bewitchment of the Duke spreading like wildfire. Evelyn strolled through the palace gardens, her skirts brushing over the dewy grass. She could feel the eyes of courtiers following her every step, weighing, judging. Anna hurried to her side, her voice hushed. "My lady, Clarissa's maids are still moving freely. Some say they're carrying letters, others say coin is changing hands." Evelyn's lips curved faintly. "So Clarissa thinks walls can cage me but not her. Then let her play her little game," Evelyn murmured. "Every move she makes from her confinement will only reveal her desperation. And desperation," her smile sharpened, "makes people sloppy." That night, Adrian summoned her to his private study. His expression was darker than usual, his cloak cast aside, his eyes burning like storm clouds. "She is still pulling strings," he said, slamming a report down onto the table. "Even in chains, she spreads poison." Evelyn stepped closer, her calm presence softening his fury. "Then cut the strings, Adrian. Follow the trail. Let her own servants betray her." His grey eyes flicked to hers, searching. "You make it sound so simple." "Because it is," she whispered, her voice like velvet. "She is clever, yes, but she is not me." Adrian's gaze lingered, the intensity between them sparking like flint to fire. For the first time, he allowed himself to say softly, "You fascinate me, Evelyn Grace." Her heart stuttered, but she masked it with a teasing smile. "And here I thought you only found me troublesome." Chapter 46. A moment of vulnerability. The next evening, Rain fell heavily across the palace, the sound of thunder echoing like war drums. Evelyn stood by her window, watching droplets race down the glass, when a knock came at her door. "Come in," she called softly. Adrian entered, his cloak damp, his hair tousled by the storm. He looked less like the cold Duke and more like a man weighed down by burdens. "I needed to see you," he admitted, his voice lower than usual. Evelyn blinked in surprise. "At this hour?" He moved closer, his steps heavy with something unsaid. "I can face enemies, armies, betrayal. But with you, I find myself uncertain. You've entangled yourself in my world, and I can't," he broke off, jaw clenched. Her heart fluttered. Slowly, she stepped closer, until she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "You can't what, Adrian?" His hand lifted, hesitating before brushing against her cheek. The touch was surprisingly gentle, his usual restraint trembling at the edges. "I can't imagine losing you," he whispered. Evelyn's breath caught. For a moment, the world outside ceased to exist, the storm, the danger, even Clarissa's shadow. There was only this moment, fragile and unspoken. She leaned slightly into his hand, her lips curving into the faintest of smiles. "Then don't lose me." Their eyes locked, the tension between them teetering on the edge of something neither dared to name. Chapter 47. The Poisoned Gift. A week passed since Clarissa's confinement, and whispers began to fade, until a gift arrived for Evelyn. Anna carried in a jeweled box, bowing low. "My lady, this was delivered to your chambers, sent with no name." Evelyn's brows arched. "No name." She opened the box carefully. Inside lay an exquisite hairpin, gold inlaid with emeralds. It gleamed so beautifully it might have tempted any noblewoman. But Evelyn's lips curved into a cold smile. Pretty, but too convenient. She tilted it under the light. A faint powder clung to the edges, barely visible. Her stomach tightened. "Poison." "Anna," Evelyn said smoothly. "Summon the palace physician." Quietly. When the doctor arrived, he tested the pin and paled instantly. "This is laced with aconite, my lady. A mere prick of the skin could have killed you." Anna gasped, nearly dropping the box. Who would dare? Evelyn's eyes glinted. Who indeed? The answer was obvious. Clarissa had reached from her cage to strike. Evelyn set the box aside, calm as ever. Good. Let her think she nearly succeeded. The more she reveals herself, the easier it will be to bury her. That night, Adrian appeared at her chamber, the storm in his eyes darker than the night sky. "They tried to kill you," he said coldly. His hand slammed against the table, the veins in his arm tense. "Do you understand what that means? They dare to touch what is mine." Evelyn rose gracefully, approaching him with deliberate calm. "Yes, and they failed. Which means they're desperate." He looked down at her, his fury clashing with her poise. "You speak of desperation while you are almost—" He stopped himself, his voice breaking. Evelyn laid her hand lightly over his clenched fist. "Adrian, I'm still here." For a long moment, he only stared at her. Then, slowly, his anger ebbed into something raw, unguarded. "You make me fear, Evelyn. And I have not feared in years." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Perhaps that means you're alive." Chapter 48. Clarissa's Gambit. The next day, word spread through the palace like wildfire. Clarissa had demanded an audience with the Queen. "Your Grace," one of Adrian's advisers reported gravely, "Lady Clarissa intends to present evidence against Lady Evelyn. She claims to have proof of witchcraft." Adrian's fury was immediate. Nonsense. But Evelyn only laughed softly, her calm unsettling the entire council. "Let her. If she wishes to play her last card, then I will play mine." The Queen agreed to hear Clarissa in a private chamber, with Adrian and Evelyn present. Clarissa swept in, still radiant despite her confinement, her eyes sharp with malice. "Your Majesty," Clarissa bowed, her voice trembling with false righteousness. "This woman has bewitched the Duke. She clouds his judgment, she manipulates his will. And she produced a small pouch, have proof." The Queen's brows furrowed. "Proof?" Clarissa spilled the pouch onto the table. Strange herbs and powders scattered across the surface. These were found in Lady Evelyn's quarters. Evelyn arched a brow, her smile cool. How curious. I wonder who put them there. Clarissa's eyes gleamed with victory. Do you deny they are yours? But Evelyn's voice was steady, honeyed with amusement. Of course I deny it. In fact, I wonder if you'd allow the physician to examine these powders before we condemn anyone. After all, if they are poison rather than charms, wouldn't that be an interesting twist? The Queen's lips tightened. Adrian's eyes locked on Clarissa with a predator's stillness. And for the first time, Clarissa faltered. Chapter 49, The Court of Shadows. The Queen's chamber was heavy with tension. Courtiers leaned in, their eyes flickering between Evelyn's serene poise and Clarissa's trembling performance. The physician bent over the scattered powders, sniffing, then carefully testing. After a long silence, he paled. Your Majesty, this is not witchcraft. These are deadly toxins, nightshade and wolfsbane mixed. Gasps filled the chamber. Clarissa's smile froze. That can't be. Evelyn tilted her head, her expression calm and cutting. Curious, isn't it? That such poisons were planted in my quarters. Almost as if someone wished to frame me. The Queen's gaze turned sharp. Lady Clarissa, do you deny knowledge of this? Clarissa's voice shook, but she lifted her chin. She lies. Can you not see? She has already bewitched His Grace. Enough. Adrian's voice cut through like a blade. He rose, his presence filling the room with quiet menace. His eyes locked onto Clarissa, grey and merciless. You speak of bewitchment, yet you are the one weaving falsehoods and poison into this court. Clarissa's face drained of colour. Evelyn, graceful as silk, added softly, if I were truly a witch, Lady Clarissa, don't you think you would be the first to fall? Laughter rippled among the courtiers, muffled but undeniable. Clarissa's humiliation was complete. The Queen's verdict was swift. Lady Clarissa, for attempted murder and false accusation, you shall remain under confinement until further judgment. Guards, remove her. Clarissa screamed, struggling as she was dragged away. Her last words echoed through the chamber. This isn't over. She will ruin you all. But Evelyn only watched with a faint smile, her hand brushing against Adrian's sleeve, a silent victory. Chapter 50, A Dance of Flames. That evening, the palace was alive with whispers of Clarissa's downfall. Evelyn, dressed in a gown of crimson silk that shimmered like fire, attended the celebratory banquet at Adrian's side. Every eye in the hall followed her. The once vilified Villainess now walked in triumph, her every step radiating confidence. Anna whispered from behind, My lady, you're dazzling them all. Evelyn smirked. Good. Let them remember this night. When Adrian led her to the dance floor, silence fell. He was not a man who danced lightly, yet with her, his movements were fluid, almost tender. His hand rested at her waist, steady and strong, while her laughter rang like bells. Everyone is watching, Adrian murmured low, his breath brushing her ear. Let them, Evelyn replied, her eyes locking on his. If they see you dancing with me, then they'll know I am untouchable. His gaze softened, rare and raw. Not untouchable, but mine. Her heart skipped. For a fleeting second, she nearly forgot the scheming, the danger, the shadows that still lingered. Here, in this moment, she was simply a woman dancing in the arms of the man she intended to charm, and perhaps, was already losing her heart to. As the music swelled, Adrian leaned closer, his lips brushing her temple. Stay by my side, Evelyn Grace. And I'll make sure no one dares harm you again. For the first time, Evelyn allowed herself to whisper the truth she hadn't dared admit aloud. I think I want to. The hall erupted in applause, but neither of them noticed. They were lost in their own world, a dance of flames that refused to be extinguished. Chapter 51. Whispers from afar. The palace had quieted after Clarissa's downfall, but Evelyn knew peace was fleeting. The Duke's enemies were not only internal, they lurked in distant kingdoms, sending spies and whispers through the court. Anna rushed into Evelyn's chamber, breathless. My lady, a messenger from the Eastern Duchy has arrived. They demand an audience with the Duke regarding an urgent matter of trade and allegiance. Evelyn arched a brow. Urgent. Yes, but likely more than trade. Let's see what secrets they bring. In the council room, Adrian listened intently as the envoy spoke of missing shipments, forged letters, and suspicious alliances. Evelyn's sharp eyes caught subtle inconsistencies. Whispers of manipulation meant to destabilize the Duke's rule. So Clarissa wasn't the only threat, she thought. And someone is testing both of us. Adrian's grey eyes flicked to her. You see it too, don't you? Evelyn nodded, her mind racing with strategy. Yes. And we will not only survive this, we'll use it to strengthen our position. That night, Evelyn pored over maps, trade routes, and letters, piecing together the web of intrigue. Adrian entered quietly, watching her work. You never cease to amaze me, he murmured. She smiled faintly without looking up. And you never cease to intrigue me. But tonight, I need to think like a strategist, not like a duchess in training. Adrian lingered near her side, his presence steady and grounding. Then think, Evelyn. I'll follow your lead. Her pulse quickened. Follow my lead. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. She was beginning to realize that surviving was no longer enough. She wanted victory, power, and perhaps more than she expected. Chapter 52, The Hidden Enemy. The following week, a masked ball was announced, a traditional event, meant for celebration, but Evelyn saw it as an opportunity. Masked faces made spies bolder, secrets easier to uncover. Draped in a gown of midnight blue, Evelyn's mask glittered like stars. Adrian arrived beside her, his hand firm on her back, his own mask sharp and imposing. The palace is filled with whispers tonight, he murmured, leaning close. Then we listen, she replied, her eyes scanning the crowd. Every glance, every whisper, could be a clue. Sure enough, amidst the laughter and music, Evelyn spotted a shadow slipping past servants, clutching a sealed letter. With deft movement, she intercepted the figure, pressing the envelope into her own hand without drawing attention. Later, in a quiet corridor, she examined the letter. A plot was revealed, assassins hired by a foreign lord, aiming to destabilize the Duke's court and seize power during Clarissa's distraction. Her lips curved into a cold smile. So the game has truly begun. Adrian appeared at her side, his eyes following hers as she revealed the letter. You've discovered it. I have, Evelyn said, voice calm, even as adrenaline raced through her. And now we prepare, before they make their next move. Adrian's hand brushed hers, fingers tightening briefly. Then we fight together, Evelyn. As always. She met his gaze, heart pounding. Together, she agreed. Chapter 53, The First Strike. Dawn broke across the palace, casting golden light over the sprawling estate. Evelyn stood on the balcony, gazing at the horizon. The foreign threat loomed, but she refused to feel fear. Anna appeared with a tray of tea, her expression worried. My lady, are you certain about this plan? The Duke's enemies are dangerous. Evelyn smiled, her eyes sharp. Dangerous. Yes, but they underestimate us. That is their first mistake. Later, in the strategy room, Adrian leaned over maps of borderlands and trade routes. You intend to send a letter, or use spies? Evelyn's fingers traced a route across the parchment. Neither. We strike where they least expect it. Their allies within the court are eager to see chaos, let's make them panic instead. Adrian raised an eyebrow, impressed. You've planned everything. I've survived worse, she said coolly. And this time, I intend to thrive. That night, Evelyn dispatched trusted courtiers to subtly sow misinformation among the foreign lord's allies. False letters, staged betrayals, and rumors of an impending investigation would throw their forces into disarray before a single soldier even crossed the border. Adrian watched her work, quietly amazed. You are extraordinary, Evelyn Grace. Her eyes met his, playful and sharp. And you, Your Grace, are about to see just how extraordinary I can be. Chapter 54, Chaos Unleashed. By midweek, reports of confusion began filtering into the Duke's council. Allies turned against each other, shipments were delayed, and secret correspondence revealed betrayal. Evelyn's plan worked perfectly. Adrian entered her chambers, excitement barely contained. "You've done it. They're turning on each other, just as you predicted." Evelyn leaned back, sipping tea with a satisfied smile. "Chaos is beautiful when orchestrated correctly. And tonight, we ensure the final piece falls." That evening, at a banquet celebrating the Duke's new strategic advantage, Evelyn moved through the hall with grace. She planted subtle remarks, guided conversations, and whispered carefully to the right ears. By the end of the night, key nobles had been turned against the foreign lord's agents. Adrian watched from the sidelines, his hand brushing hers as they passed. "You truly are a force, Evelyn," he murmured. Her lips curved into a faint, triumphant smile. "And you, Adrian, are the one standing next to me. That makes the victory even sweeter." The night ended with the court buzzing, foreign agents exposed, and Evelyn standing tall, a calculated genius who had turned a deadly threat into a triumph. Chapter 55. The Final Confrontation. The palace was unusually quiet. Word had spread of Clarissa's continued plotting, and the Duke had demanded her presence. Evelyn, calm and collected, prepared for the encounter. Anna whispered nervously, "My lady, are you certain you want to face her?" Evelyn smirked. "Face her? I've already won. This is merely the part where she realizes it." Clarissa was escorted into the grand hall, her eyes blazing with fury and desperation. "Evelyn Grace," she hissed. "You think this is over? I will ruin you, every last piece of your happiness." Evelyn's blue eyes gleamed, cool and unyielding. "Clarissa, it's over. You played your games, but you underestimated me. Again." Adrian stepped beside her, his presence like steel. "Any further threats, Clarissa, and you will answer to me personally." Clarissa's shoulders stiffened. She glared at Evelyn, realizing that all her carefully laid schemes had been dismantled. The courtiers, once her allies, now watched her falter. Evelyn's voice was soft, almost gentle, yet carried the weight of command. "You wanted to destroy me, but in doing so, you only exposed yourself. And that is your final mistake." Chapter 56. Triumph of the Grace. With Clarissa's defeat confirmed, the palace returned to a semblance of peace. Evelyn had not only survived, but she had grown stronger, smarter, and more powerful. The court acknowledged her cunning, the Duke's loyalty was unwavering, and the foreign threats had been neutralized. Adrian found her in the gardens that evening, the sky painted with the colors of sunset. He took her hand, grey eyes softening. "You've changed everything, Evelyn Grace. The court, my life, and even me." Evelyn smiled, her heart fluttering. "And yet, some things remain the same." "What's that?" Adrian asked, raising an eyebrow. "Us," she said simply. "Together." He pulled her close, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then let us walk forward, Evelyn. No more schemes, no more shadows, only the life we choose." Evelyn leaned into him, feeling the warmth of victory and love intertwined. "Only the life we choose," she echoed. Above them, the palace lights glimmered like stars. Evelyn Grace had risen from a life of hardship, traversed betrayal, and conquered a web of deceit. She was no longer a victim. She was a force to be reckoned with. And with Adrian by her side, she was ready for anything the world dared to throw at her. Epilogue, a life chosen. The palace had returned to calm, but Evelyn Grace no longer walked its halls as a timid or fearful girl. She had survived schemes, poisons, and betrayals, and emerged stronger, cleverer, and unshakable. Adrian walked beside her in the palace gardens, their hands intertwined. The sky glowed with the soft hues of dawn, promising new beginnings. "You've changed me," Adrian said quietly, his gaze steady on hers. "I've seen strength I didn't know existed. And a heart I can't stop caring for." Evelyn smiled, leaning slightly against him. "And you have given me something I never had before, trust. A partner. Someone to fight alongside, and to live for." Adrian's lips brushed hers gently, a soft promise of the life ahead. "Then let us live well, Evelyn Grace. Together." She closed her eyes, savoring the moment. No schemes, no shadows, Just a life they had chosen, a life filled with courage, love, and the quiet joy of victory. And as the sun rose, Evelyn Grace knew one thing. She was no longer the villain of a story. She was the author of her own destiny. Thank you for listening to The Villainess Who Refused to Die. I hope you enjoyed the twists, the romance, and Evelyn's journey from danger to triumph. If you loved the story and want to hear more thrilling transmigration adventures, clever strategies, and manhwa-style romance, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next audiobook.